crock pot with food and platters with brats and things of fruit. And I'm like, horrible. When I left, they were planning to play with spoons. So I just got left with like 12 of her friends, boys and girls, and they were gonna, put some fires and, I don't know. So doing those, I should get my creator. I don't know. I like to try and stay there and. But
Girls are something.
yeah, I mean, they're boys too, though. I mean, I don't think the second girl so far.
They didn't know.
The boy, the brother, it's cute.
Don't shut up.
Yeah. Well, Liam and Kelly brought the bras, and he was very excited. Like it was a joint.
Trisha planning animals.
Yes.
They're like little almond flour, so you see bread and
Yeah.
So neat.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, it's funny, like, I can't even imagine sleeping, even taking a something like that. Oh, they don't sleep around.
I also have
Yeah, absolutely. It's regular. If it's doing. I'm sure. I just trying to forget and one thing started. I'm thinking this, trying to do what is in music. Trying to understand. Right? It's feasible. Hey.
You know how you doing?
Oh, yes. It's actually, we said you're leaving us. You're talking with the ice cream social. I said, yeah, I thought she's leaving us. That's my. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's actually next week. Rather than again. No, I don't know. I'm just going to.
She's at a conference in Vail. I think she's online.
I'm here.
Someone asked me like why I joined sometimes. I'm like, I can't see this page. Like, green. I feel like be able to like read stuff.
Hey, Beth, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I see you talking, but I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I'm in a new computer. Let's try. Is that better?
Like how last month they joined, but I said that you joined with the microphone too, and I was like, trying to reverb right in the middle of the meeting, and then I unjoined and rejoined. Maybe you didn't notice.
I don't remember.
I was just like, oh.
Can you hear me now?
Beth, we can't hear you.
Mm.
Yeah. But you can hear us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's try this.
How about now, Beth?
How about now?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm on a new computer.
I think it might have been us, actually.
Okay.
clicked on the link in the agenda and it says the host has another meeting in progress. The Brendan Mills the folder.
I just put it on my calendar and I just wanted to.
I'm sure it's the right agenda.
I just pulled the agenda just now from the website and it was working.
All right, so the reason, I think we're ready. Ready, guys?
Yep.
Rolling ready?
Yes,
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
All right, I will call the regular meeting of Ridgway Town Council Wednesday, June 10th, 2026 order. And this
Councilors Brownlee,
here,
Greenwood. Here. Kroger. Here. Montague. Here. Scoville.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lincoln.
Here.
And Mayor Clark.
here. Thank you. That brings us to additions or deletions to the agenda. Whether we have things to add or delete.
One item, Mayor. If you all could please add an item to confirm or amend the emergency restrictions on burning and fires within the town of Ridgway at the end of the agenda, that'd be great. Please do that. Yes, sir.
Is there any appetite on council to put a baby changing station in the public restrooms? Both men and women's restrooms.
Yeah.
Cool.
Are we going to discuss the letter that Mr. Savage wrote? Of the Jackson?
I hadn't planned on it. We can.
Yeah, I think it's worth having a conversation. Sure.
Right. Why don't we do that at the end of the meeting as well?
Okay.
Anything else? Additions and deletions? Hearing none, brings us to adoption of the event calendar. Everything's on there this month. We need those in the pull off, or if not, is there a motion to give?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay.
Motion by Machine, seconded by Josie. All in favor? Actually, we need to do a roll call, sorry. If that's online, we need a roll call.
Councilor Scrambley,
Aye.
Greenwood,
Aye.
Kroger, Scoville,
Aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lincoln,
Hi.
and Mayor Clark.
I don't get to roll. Stay with me.
Aye. You made the motion. Right, I still vote on it.
She's so.
Sorry, it's been a while.
Yeah. We'll be patient with you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Doing this for the first time in a while, so. That brings us to public comments. Establish time on the agenda for the public to address council about anything that's not otherwise on the agenda. My guess is that Lieutenant Kuno has something. That would be me, yes.
Okay. Code of Wildfire been resident for 40 years now, as of this month's May. And I've come to address a couple of things that I've addressed before, but I wanted to bring it up to discussion of these thoughts again for some of you or new. Well, it's really the banner that we spent $200,000 on that brought me here. Okay, my first comment is that for 25 years now, I've asked for dealing with the culvert that floods Canada Class every year that we have rains. And that has been sort of easily or conveniently forgotten. I did send our manager a picture from the East Coast in West Virginia, where they have yearly flooding, and they build, instead of having one huge culvert, they have one next to another. So I suggest that we address this pretty soon, because it seems like it's neglected. And if those that are not familiar with it, you walk up County Road 5, and before you get to the ditch on the right-hand side, you can look at the damage that was done to Alex Williams' fence. Some of it has been, covered up out into the post. Okay, and that's damage that we've neglected for a long time. The other thing I'd like to mention again, and I mentioned that last time I was here, which is in February, a year ago, that I think it's really a public safety issue that we do not have the sidewalk continued in front of the eatery all the way to the street. I've sent pictures of that. I think we're all aware of that particular situation. The last time I raised that, it was got to hear that we had something else planned, but we didn't do anything, and so we still haven't done anything. Which is, I think, we did the street, which was probably over 10 years ago. As a resident of Market Street, it's been about, I don't know, a couple of decades that came to ask for better snow removal on the bridge over there. This year we had 3 major snowstorms. We had 0 snow removal on that bridge from the town where I live. Around
Mary Street, the wide.
Yeah, and we end up having a big huge hump to walk over. Now, this year, out of 3 storms, I let 2 of it go, and the third one I cleaned it by myself, just because I think it's necessary to make it safe. The concern that I've mentioned before is that we have a stub out on Railroad Street that's pointing towards County Road 5, and that has not been into the maybe it's into long-term discussion, but I think it's necessary for safety and fire that we connect the end of Railroad Street across the street into County Road 5. I think that's the second egress is important for the school, plus we would drive less distance between the 2 schools if we have a closer connection. Something similar is for the build out of Laura Street. I think that was a mistake that we only built half the street, because now we have a traffic jam in the morning over here, because we only have good access at least in 2 spots to the street. And my other concern is that we're not really considering a real sewer plant. It seems like what I read is that we're considering something that would last about 20 years. Since I've been here for 40, I'm saying that's not really good planning. I think if we do anything with the sewer plant, we should plan for the next 50 years or the next 60 years, and not just for planning. And in general comments to governing I like to make is that in general, all of us want the same thing. We want existence, we want consciousness, and we want joyfulness. And then the 4th thing we all want is complete independence of anybody else. And the 5th thing is the juxtaposition of the 4th, which is we want suzerainty, which is to be able to lead others and to bring others to the belief that we are right and that we should be followed. And I think the government needs to be very careful to balance this complete independency that we all like and the desire to lead us in ways that whoever is leading at the moment deems possible and the right way. Thank you for this.
Thank you. That's quite a list of things there.
I can copy it for you.
I'm sure for us to put notes. We've got it on the recording. A lot of other things haven't been as neglected as you may think, even though they may not be completed. They're on our strategic plan one way or another. Some of the things like the access to County Road 5 across side of the property. That's a big lift when you talk about the. And the same for the Lower Street. You have road for those 2 blocks. That's because the Wolf Land Company controls that land, and we've been trying to get them to finish their own. So hopefully we'll get to that. It's not like we're not sure. All the other things are noted and we appreciate the comments. Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything? Okay, any other public comments? All right, that takes us to public press and presentations. Item number 5, request to close North Corridor between Railroad and Roundhouse on August 27th between 5 and 10 for the annual Bennett Ford River Swap Play. You scroll online and go ahead, Will.
Yep, I think you said it all. We're having our 6th annual block party on North Core Street and requesting to close the street.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought after the second, I think the third was an auto. Is that not the case?
That's also like my. Yeah.
Or is it the sixth?
Six, yeah.
I was gonna ask the same exact thing.
Three.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I always like vote for the party.
Yeah.
You know, Pam is usually pretty good about identifying the amount of times that an event has happened. So maybe there was an oversight, or maybe there was a change to, unless there's a change, but the information before you probably looks a lot like years past. So
It's our 6th party. I don't know if there was a question. I missed it. I'm sorry.
We were saying early after the third one, it's an auto approval. It doesn't have to come to council.
So it should
We
be
were just confused. You get the party.
not auto so much as administrative.
Administrative.
Town staff should be able to approve it. Do it for you.
So do I for a motion?
Yes.
I move to approve the request to close North Cora between Railroad and Roundhouse on August 27th between 5 and 10 for the annual Bennett Forge Works Block Party. Second.
Thank you, Michelle. Made the motion. Paul made the second. Roll call.
Councilor Gramley,
Aye.
Greenwood, aye. Kroger, aye. Montague, aye. Scoville,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lincoln.
Hi.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will. Looking forward to getting that stage upgrade done in a week or so. That takes us to. That takes us to item number 6, request to close 10th Street between Cora and Laura Streets on August 15th between 10 and 8 p.m. 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. for the annual Pride Celebration Walk. I said this has her name on it, but is she online?
Yep.
Welcome, Kaisa.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing the council members hear very clearly, but I can hear Preston well. But
Okay.
I introduce myself. My name is Kaisa Simon. I'm the event coordinator for Erie County Pride. We also have a few other people on our planning committee in the room there, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about our permit request.
Great, thank you. We have the application in front of us. Questions for the applicants? Anybody in the room have any questions? I know you guys are here representing the board as well. If you'd like to say something, you can. You don't have to. Not hearing any comments.
I'm adding it to my calendar. I attended the event last year for the first time and was really impressed with it. They did a great job.
Yeah.
The event on Fort Street, I'm sorry, on Clinton.
I want to add that I actually love that you brought the event to our business district on Clinton Street. We do a good job of having lots of events in Hartwell. And this was so much fun to see everything really integrated together rather than apart from town. So
Thank you.
I do have a question about programming. Are we doing drag brunch again?
Fabulous, thank you.
In addition to the block party during the day, we're actually making a whole weekend of it. And so the night before, there's going to be a one-woman show at the Wright Opera House called Edie. Then we'll have the block party during the day. And then in the evening, we'll have the after party at the Wright. And then the drag brunch on Sunday at the Chipeta.
Awesome. That's great. All right.
Fabulous. I move to approve the Safer, More Affirming Communities Ridgway County, or I'm sorry, Uray County Pride Celebration Block Party on August 15th to shut the street from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. for 7.
Second.
All right, motion made by Polly, seconded by Kevin. Roll call vote, please.
Grambling. Commissioner Greenwood.
Aye.
Grover.
Aye.
Montague. Aye. Scoville. And Mayor Pro Tem Blakey.
I
Great, passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Volume on the plan, make sure it's
Yeah.
in a good place so that people can hear us online. All right, Kaiser, you're still having a hard time like hearing me?
It's a little better. It's mainly like a quality, not volume. And I don't know. I
you
mean,
guys are pretty garbled tonight. I had a really hard time with Kuno.
Hmm.
That mic's also not on. I'll turn that on in just a second.
Yeah, the mic at the,
It seemed very bassy and not much treble.
our sound gal's working with it.
On it.
That's helpful feedback, Gary, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, while I was looking at that, is a proclamation supporting the 6th annual Uray County Pride Celebration. That one has my name on it, and I am super proud to be able to support this proclamation, ask council to support it. We are a very diverse community, at least culturally, or at least, well, maybe not so much culturally, but in a lot of other ways. I just think, as we've already been saying, this is an incredible event. I'm really proud that we have supported all these years. I think it's an amazing thing that you guys have built into the 3-day event it is, or 2.5-day event that it is. And I just think it's amazing, especially in light of the fact that it hasn't been supported in neighboring communities this year. And so we want to turn that tide back here in Ridgway. So I don't know, would council like me to read this? I'm gonna go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
Town of Ridgway, Colorado, official proclamation. Proclamation supporting the 6th annual Uray County Pride Celebration. Whereas the town of Ridgway is home to people of all ages who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, two-spirit, and more. And whereas all human beings are born free and equal, dignity and rights. And whereas the town of Ridgway's 2019 master plan lists community value 2, sense of community and inclusivity, as one of its five primary values emphasized by the community, and states, quote, looking to the future, residents would like to see Ridgway remain a diverse and inclusive community, not one that is homogenous and unwelcoming of others. And whereas the town of Ridgway strives to encourage, celebrate, and sustain innovation and creativity in our community, including the varied lifestyles of creative individuals who hope to thrive here. And whereas the Ridgway Town Council supports the rights of all citizens to experience equality and freedom from discrimination. And whereas while society at large increasingly supports LGBTQIA2S+ equality, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas LGBTQIA2S+ people have made immeasurable contributions to the cultural, civic, and economic successes of our country. And whereas the fabric of our community is strengthened by inclusion, equity, justice, and love. And whereas celebrating LGBTQIA2S+ pride influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for Uray County's LGBTQIA2S community, and is an opportunity to increase visibility, take action, and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Ridgway Town Council hereby proclaims its support for the 6th annual Uray County Pride Celebration on August 15, 2026, in support of the LGBTQIA2S+ community. Thank you. Anything else?
No, this was a contentious thing last year, and I want to bring it back up.
No.
I think we should like that. I think we should fly the flag all month and minimum for this entire week.
Strongly disagree. As I said last year, it's nothing against pride. It's just opening the floodgates for all sorts of flags. You know, I was against it when it was a flag of our earth, which I'm also not against. I'm not. I think the flying it for a day is awesome on the actual day. I think saying to fly it for a week or a month is not something I'm comfortable with as a town hall. I don't think that we should be doing that. I think we should fly the flag of our state and of our nation, and I don't want to get into the specifics of every individual user group saying, well, I want a month, I want a week, I want it. And how do we then say, well, yeah, we'll review for a week, we'll review for a month, but you only get a day. I absolutely disagree with flying more than a day.
And I absolutely disagree with not flying the flag. So I'm with Polly. I really think this is something that we can show our support for folks who are often not supported, and be clear that Ridgway is a place that is welcoming and inclusive.
I'll give everybody a chance to weigh in.
What's the time frame?
I would say for the 3 days of the event.
Last year they asked for a month. So,
3 days of the event.
Have we ever flown it before?
Yes.
Okay, what's the
oh,
history?
we
of
fly
that?
it every year.
Oh, we do it every year.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm not against that. I'm against
We've
the flying.
flown it for months, like the whole month, that's Pride Month, or every year but last year.
Last year we compromised to the event and the Stonewall Remembrance Day.
I think in light of the current world in which we live, I think supporting those who are incredibly easily othered and ostracized, I truly believe we should support it. And like, if we need to trade the Earth flag for the Pride flag, okay, cool, let's have a drink.
I just
But
think it's
seeing, may I finish? Thank you. But seeing, like, I was in Santa Fe this last weekend and they had it on their county building, driving through everywhere else. They have it pretty prominently flown. It's a marker of who we are. It's not like, oh, you can have it and you can have it and you can have it. It's like, this is what we stand for. And if we are going to go with Ridgway's town motto and Ridgway's town values, I truly believe this is not what we should do.
Michelle, did you have anything
I had a question
Yeah.
of what the time frame was. I don't believe that's the answer.
Ollie's suggestion was the 3 days of the event.
And
I think it's still open.
for the month. I would prefer it for the month, if
Okay.
not that, at least Stonewall Day and the entirety of the event, but I would prefer the rest of the month.
I just really, I want to clear that it is not me saying that my values and my support aren't for this particular topic in this particular time. I tried to be very clear that for me, it's about setting precedent, and that I believe that it should only be our state and our federal flags that are flown to the town hall, and you can fly whatever you want at your business or your home. I'm not against flying the pride flag for their the celebrations that weekend. That's fine, but I just think a month is setting a really excessive precedent in our town for public flags too, and I just don't agree with it. But
That's,
I don't
I feel like you said your piece, and let everybody else have a chance to say their piece.
I think she was just clarifying.
Well, okay,
I think last year's compromise sat really uncomfortably with me, since Josie, I hear your position about flags, and I think we compromised to try to make it more amenable to someone who maybe has some general discomfort around flags. And I would weigh in on the side of Polly that for some of us who have chosen to back efforts around the Earth flag or other events, I would prefer to see it flown for the remainder of June, plus the event.
and I just want to point out, until a motion is made, it's all up for discussion, so that's what we're doing now, but I'd like to finish getting anyone on council that has an opinion. I'm sorry if I cut you off, Josie, I didn't mean to, state their opinion, and I'd like some of the audience to be able to.
I just have a question because Beth said the remainder of this month, but the But the event is in August.
I actually said, I actually said the remainder of this month plus the event. I'm sorry if that was unclear online.
Okay. And in the past, what have we done? We've flown it for the month of June. June,
Last year we flew it for the event.
and just last year was just the event,
Yeah.
which is what, 1 day.
I don't have a comment, but.
I don't know if I can check, but that's June 28th is the Stonewall Remembrance Day. And then why they're proposing for the rest of June is because June is Pride Month. Also, to offer some context, recently we had Ridgway County make the proclamation, and they're going to be flying the flag at the 4-H Center for the rest of the month as well.
Anyone else want to weigh in on council?
I would support flying the flag for the rest of the month and for the event.
Okay.
I think especially in these times, I think it's important.
I agree. Do you want anything you want to add? Okay. Amy, you want to say something?
Is it?
I'm Amy Keto, I'm at 228 Ken Road 5. I thought I was coming up here to thank you all for reading the proclamation, and I still appreciate your reading and adopting that proclamation for the 6th year. Thank you very much. I am a board member for Safer, More Affirming Communities, and I am serving on my 6th year of the Pride Planning Committee. It has been precedent that the flag has been flown for the month of June, with the exception of last year where we had pushback from one organization, and that's the compromise we made. So I do have a flag with me here today. If you guys do choose to fly the flag, as Kaisa mentioned, Ridgway County just accepted the Pride Proclamation and agreed to fly the flag for the month of June. They might even fly it at their courthouse too. We're just getting hardware for them to fly at the courthouse. But that being said, flying the flag lets the town visitors and town citizens know that this is a welcoming and safe environment. It also is consistent with our proclamation of Pride Month being the month of June. I also appreciate even Mayor Pro Tem Lincoln's suggestion that we fly it for both the month of June and for the Pride event weekend. I would really appreciate that if you guys would consider that and approve that. I think that what it does for the community is not only show that safety net here in our community and what we stand for here in the town of Ridgway, but it also helps bring more diverse companies and businesses into our area. And it just re-emphasizes the fact that we are an inclusive community here in the town of Ridgway. And so I do appreciate the consideration to fly the flag for the month and for the event, as Mayor Pro Tem Lincoln suggested. Thank you very much. And also I encourage you to go to all of those events that Kaisa mentioned. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Anyone else?
Hi, everyone. I'm Taylor Nowak. I live here in Ridgway. This is kind of adjacent to the flag conversation, but I just wanted to give my personal experience about coming out here to Ridgway County a few years ago. I wasn't sure there would be a place for me here as a gay man. As it turns out, there was. And it's not because of any one proclamation, organization, or event, or a flag, but it's because this county and this town choose to build a community where different kinds of people can belong. And recently we had a stranger not from our area. He was from Colorado Springs. He sent Pride a substantial donation, along with a note about growing up in rural Colorado at the time, when LGBTQ people weren't acknowledged. He wrote that he often wonders how different his life would have been had he received those messages of acceptance when he was young. So it's easy to look at these proclamations or these flags as purely symbolic, but it often tells people something important, and it's that they belong here too. So we typically send that message loud and clear, and I really appreciate all of you for that. And the truth is, it makes us a cooler, more interesting place for it. So let's lean into that. We thank you guys for having the continued courage to be allies to the LGBTQ community. And we recognize that these statements of support aren't always guaranteed. So while we celebrate nationally this month,
We'd like to remind you that Ridgway County Pride will take place over the weekend of August 14th through the 16th. We've got a number of events this year. We've got the performance at the right on Friday. We've got a block party on Clinton Street on Saturday, and an after party at the right on Saturday, and a Sunday drag brunch. And we've coined a phrase over at Pride. We like to say small towns, big mountains, bigger pride. Thank you all for your time.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
Anyone else? I just, for my sake, my part, I'd like to add that we're elected officials in this town, and we're elected to represent our constituents and to take sometimes bold, courageous stands. And I don't even believe this is a courageous stand. I think it's a bold stand to say we want to stand up for the people who are facing some pretty serious pushback at every level of our society right now. And pushback is too weak a word, quite honestly. They're being they're experiencing violence. They're being basically, people are trying to eliminate them from our society. And I just, that's so wrong. And I think the best thing we can do is stand up for what's right. And Josie, I respect your opinion about setting precedents, but as elected officials, I don't think we have to worry about setting precedents. I think we're up here to make decisions based on what our constituents want, and we're seeing strong representation from the Pride community right now, and I truly respect that and honor that, and I think we should fly the flag to the month and for that. Got a hand up online. Is that Tara?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Clark. I'm speaking right now, although I am a town staff, I'm speaking with my hat of resident, parent, and also board member of Safer, More Affirming Communities. And I'm kind of speaking with all those hats on because I want to share that one of the reasons that I chose to come to work for the town of Ridgway was because before I came on as staff, I came to before you as a representative of Safer, More Affirming Communities the first year that we did this and the second year. And I chose to work for the town and stay at the town because of the level of courage I see among the leadership and the commitment to inclusion, even when it's not easy. And so I just want to say that I can just speak for one person that what a powerful message that sends. And I know other people who choose to move here or stay here because they feel safe here because of the kind of leadership and community that's built here. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Tara. Anyone else?
Everybody, just want to say on the basis of this town, I think is the model of where our country actually should go. I'm a very obviously open gay person, and I run a pretty big business in town. And I come across people all the time that don't necessarily agree with my lifestyle, agree with my choices, but that's okay for people not to agree. I don't necessarily agree with them, what their beliefs are and how they go about doing things. But we meet each other with respect. We meet each other on a level of understanding and dignity. And I think we don't all have to agree. We don't. But we do need to meet people with at least respect and dignity. And that's what I get from people at my store. I mean, I have conversations all the time with people who do not agree with my lifestyle. But they still come in, they still do business with us, and we respect each other. And I have friends who are very conservative, very Republican. That's their belief. That's the way they want to go. It's perfectly fine. We still get along and we still respect each other. And that's what I love about this town, is we don't have to always agree. We just have to respect each other. And I love that about this town. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve. Anyone else? Okay, I think we need a motion.
I move to Wait, am I doing the proclamation or am I
No,
doing
the
the
flag.
I move to fly the pride flag from June 11th until the end of the month, and then also on August 15th through 17th, 14th through 16th.
Correct.
Thank you so much for correcting me.
Second.
And I think we do need a motion for the proclamation.
Oh, we didn't do that?
Do you mind repeating those dates?
14th through 16th.
Of
And I
August and the rest of June.
Move to proclaim supporting the 6th annual Ridgway County Pride Celebration.
Just to be fair, Polly, let's separate those. So I know Josie has an opinion, just so we're all being fair to everyone.
Sorry. I apologize for not catching that we didn't actually pass the proclamation. Let's do that first. Ollie made a motion to approve the proclamation. Is there a second?
She
perfect.
Seconded by Josie. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Scrambley,
Aye.
Greenwood,
Aye.
Kroger, aye. Montague,
Aye.
Scoville,
Aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lakin.
Aye.
All right.
Now I move to fly the pride flag onto Ridgway Town Hall from June 11th until the end of June, and on August 14th through 16th, 2026.
Second.
All right. Motion by Polly, seconded by Trish. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Scrambley,
Aye.
Greenwood,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Montague,
Aye.
Scoville,
Aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lakin.
Aye.
There you go. Thank you. It's good discussion. Really, I'm really proud of this town for the way we stand up like this.
Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, really, thanks a lot. All right, that takes us to another proclamation. Proclamation declaring June as Immigrant Heritage Month. I guess I would just introduce this by saying this is another issue that quite honestly is kind of frightening, the degree to which it is dividing the country and putting some of our hardest working, most honorable people and forcing them to live a life of fear. People have been killed. American citizens have been killed over this issue. It's just, I think it's vitally important that once again, as the town of Ridgway Town Council representing this town's values, that we stand up for the importance of immigrant heritage. And I'm going to read this one too. This is a short proclamation. Whereas regardless of their immigration status, every human being has an inherent birthright to safety, food, and shelter. And whereas we join people around the globe in commemorating World Refugee Day, a day when we recognize, honor, and uplift the strength, courage, and humanity of millions forced to flee violence, persecution, and war. And whereas the Ridgway Town Council honors the dignity of all town residents, regardless of nationality, and recognizes the importance of their many contributions to the social, cultural, and economic life of the town. And whereas discrimination and racism have profound impacts on immigrant communities, leading to trauma, exploitation, and fear. And whereas dehumanization and objectification perpetuate harm and marginalization. And whereas during National Immigrant Heritage Month, we recognize and celebrate the history and achievements of immigrant communities throughout the nation and within our local community. And whereas immigrants have been tireless leaders, not only in securing their own rights and access to equal opportunity, but also have campaigned to create a fairer and more just society for all Americans. And whereas immigration enhances the town of Ridgway's cultural diversity, adding a variety of abilities, perspectives, languages, customs, traditions, values, and cuisines benefit the residents of our town. Now, therefore, the Ridgway Town Council proclaims June 2026 as Immigrant Heritage Month in Ridgway, Colorado, and calls this observance to the attention of all our citizens to encourage them to learn more about the social and economic impact of immigrants to our community and state. Questions, comments? Yep.
I move to proclaim June 2026 as Immigrant Heritage Month.
Second. All right, motion made by Polly, seconded by Kevin. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Scrambley,
Aye.
Greenwood,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Montague,
Aye.
Scoville, and Mayor Pro Tem Lakin.
Hi.
Great, thank you. Passes unanimously as well as ship. Thanks, everybody, for being here to celebrate these important issues that face our world and that Ridgway is standing up for. So that takes us to item number 9.
I think, Mayor, real quick, I'm sorry, Ms. Kessler was a little bit late on accident, and she's wondering if you would be amenable to opening up the public comment period again.
Oh, sure. You know me, I'm easy.
Hi, Carolyn Dressler, and it's not about what I emailed you all about this morning. So I was just came from the Rock Social Justice meeting, and we wanted to thank the town of Ridgway for its support for the AARP application. It was accepted. And so we are now an age-friendly community, and now we are going to work forward on how to create that age-friendly community. So thank you for that. And I'm going to give this to Preston, and it's posted up around town. But this is going to start looking at Region 10 Agency on Aging for the 17th of June. So everyone is welcome, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you. Thanks for.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I guess it's only fair since some other people came in late. If you have a public comment, you're welcome to make your public comment now.
I have my hearing done completely blasted high and I can't hear.
It is really hard. What do you say? Yeah, it's really hard to hear you. It's really quiet.
But I think you told me don't expect this every time.
No. Yes, if anyone else had a public comment since we opened it back up.
Yeah, it was nothing about you, Carolyn. It was making it fair for everybody.
So everybody up here needs to just speak up into their.
That's good.
Now you're actually turned on. That sounds so much better.
I just bumped it up 3.
I'm gonna turn up the gains too, so don't lean in too far.
Okay. That sounds like it's much better.
Is that better online?
Musicians will have us now.
Is that better, Beth?
It is better. It's
Okay.
yeah, it's always hard when you're online, but you guys are much better.
Good. Sorry about that, everybody. So now I will take us back to item number 9, presentation of Destination Development Mentor Program Tourism Strategy Report from Dave Santucci of the Creative Tourism Office Destination Mentor. He's our Creative Tourism Office Destination Mentor. Is Dave online with us?
I am.
All right, welcome, Dave.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I've had the pleasure over the past few months of working with Tara through a grant from it's actually the Colorado Tourism Office, that is a mentor grant, and it grants about 2 full weeks over a 4-month or so period to work together and kind of look at your community really closely, listen, look at data, and come back with some recommendations. So I'm going to share those recommendations. I welcome you guys to interrupt me if you have questions. I think we had a total of about 20 minutes slated for this. I'll try to keep the presentation to 10, but again, if you want to interrupt me as we go along, no worries. So let me just do a couple of quick screen share moves here. Okay. Looks like you're seeing the screen.
Yep.
All right. Just make that full screen for you, and then we'll run through this. So, in your 200 plus page city council packet, there's about 20 pages of this report. And again, this is, done in collaboration with the Colorado Tourism Office. I'm independent. I have a company called Mission to Market. We do nothing but work with mostly Colorado destinations on their strategies and the execution of those strategies. We work with a lot of rural communities and mountain communities, and have a lot of experience looking at a lot of different, ways that people address tourism. And you all, over the past year, have gone through a transition of a chamber-led tourism management to town-led tourism management. And so we wanted to look at that and then also, just give you some recommendations based on some of the changes that are happening there and how you might address those. So the process looked at a lot of visitor data through the Colorado Tourism Office. We have access to visitor data, the kind of creepy technology that tracks the movement of cell phones, so we can see where people are coming from, how long they stay, and where they're spending money. And then we looked at some of your prior plans so that we're carrying things forward from your work with the Colorado Tourism Office and your work as a town. We looked at other destinations in Colorado and benchmarked against those. And then we had a nice stakeholder input process, listening to a number of business owners in your community to understand their position. And I will tell you that one of the things we found, and I'd love to hear if you are seeing things differently, was that your visitor economy is actually softening from 24 to 25. We saw about a 10 to 12% drop in visitor spend. And that was actually led by the accommodations. Your dining was the strong place in the community. And, about half of your visitors are spending the night and half are day trips. And then when we look at your total visitor volume, this is the number of visitors times the length of stay. You had about 1 million visitor days, and the average was about 2 days. So any of this data, first off, catching anybody off guard? Does this seem about right? Okay. I'll keep going then. So, one of the things obviously that you've all been dealing with is the transition of the Mountain Lodge from hosting visitors to hosting construction crew for the Mountain Village Four Seasons. And, when we looked at that, that's about a third of your available lodging rooms, which has a significant impact on your community. I work with Leadville really closely, and they had a similar type of situation where they lost a third of their lodging rooms, and they saw about a 20% drop in their visitor economy when that happened. And so based on that, plus looking at a number of other ways to kind of back into these numbers, estimating that will cost your visitor economy about $1.5 million in total visitor spending that's lost. And that is accounting for the idea that some people will maybe move over to other lodging or go to short-term rentals. But that, I think if I remember off the top of my head, your total visitor spending there, I estimated it somewhere between 10 and $15 million. So a significant, chunk of the visitor economy being lost as a result of loss of lodging. And this also results in an estimated $40,000 lost in lodging tax, which we can already see, having effect since they already have gone to this transition. And then additionally, sales tax losses on the visitor economy spend. So, this is not just to be negative. This is just to say, we've got a real challenge that we need to work through and want to look at some strategies that might help us address this big challenge. Other finding was that with the structure that you have, I think it's really great to work with your chamber, but it does add a layer between the town and the businesses. And I prefer see the town connect direct with its businesses. And so adding in a tourism advisory committee that's not, a voting committee really, but more a connection committee to look over the work of what the town is doing and give a feedback loop that's direct to add that as a part of your structure was one of the findings that we're looking at. Do think that you're set up solidly with, the chamber supporting visitor engagement, welcome center, hiring of an agency to work on marketing. I think you're hearing from Destination by Design next. But I do think that there's a few tweaks like this tourism advisory committee. And then I also do think that your community needs a little bit more capacity in-house for managing tourism. We'll get to that in a moment. And that, tourism is essential. It's a big part of the economy there. And that to weather this kind of lodging capacity challenge, there needs to be some adjustments to the way in which you market and go about that, but then also investment in, capacity to go after grants and things to help you through this time period. So the strategies or recommendations are to unify the brand. Right now, you have a few different websites and social media handles and things as you've transitioned from the chamber that are still out there. It's confusing to the visitor. I do think that once the Destination by Design and the town really land on that brand and that voice and have that opportunity to unify behind that should be spread throughout any visitor touch point and looking at bringing those into alignment. I do think that when we look at some of the things I've recommended in here, that you really, and looking at, the competitive set, that really one person designated full-time to tourism makes sense, but you don't really have that. You have one person designated part-time. And so adding a little bit of capacity, not at, a full-time staff level, but maybe a contractor to add some hours to really deal with some of the things that go along with managing tourism would help. And I know budgets are tight, and I know I'm telling you that your revenues are probably going to be off from the visitor economy, but making that investment will help your businesses weather this time period. And then that tourism advisory committee we talked about. So as we move into how do we go about trying to get people to come when we're also dealing with some lodging constraints, there's some recommendations in this as to, we don't want to turn off our marketing for summer when we're kind of dealing with some of the lodging capacity challenges like in July. But we want to go after the economic impact side and get the most out of that month we can with the lodging we have, and then market the rest of the year in the off-peak periods and try and get people to come back. So there's a number of strategies in here around that are really for the agency to look through, including target audiences. For example, families that are more likely to use your short-term rentals. Also to not shy away from pushing people to stay in the surrounding area, so you at least get a good economic impact from your campgrounds and your RVs, and getting them to come into town by partnering with them and putting out signage about all the great things that there are to do in your wonderful community. And then repeat visitors. These are easy to get back. They love your community. They've been there before. So things like that. These audiences really help drive and spread out visitation throughout the year and maximize your dollars. This one may be a little bit controversial. It always is, short-term rentals. So one of the recommendations in here is to reconsider your short-term rental policy for just the short term. So, during this time period where you have a lodging capacity constraint, that you consider two layers of licenses. I think you have a 50 unit cap, but this would be looking at what's been done in Crested Butte and Breck, and Boulder is a great example with the Sundance Film Festival, where during peak periods there are licenses that are available to only rent a limited number of days. I think Boulder's is 29 or less days. And then this allows to create the capacity during that time period, but doesn't necessarily invite in outside investment that kind of can change a community. And it also, allows homeowners to make a little bit of money during the most busiest time of year. And then also looking at the idea that this would not be a permanent policy, but one that would sunset when you do get the additional lodging that comes back online. The other, these are convert the visitors into day trippers, and there's a number of both tactics in here about, creating a welcoming environment that you could go after with some grants. So I'm just going to kind of keep that at a high level right now. And then the final, strategy in here is really putting the residents first in stewardship. And so this is about making sure that we are spreading visitation out to, maximize the job opportunities and supportive business, but without disrupting or really actually more supporting the quality of life that you enjoy there. And then there's a number of grants in here that if you had the additional capacity within the team, could probably pursue, including a matching grant to get your marketing dollars to go further on from the Colorado Tourism Office, a Do Colorado Right program, which is like honing your messaging on how to behave responsibly so that visitors are, fitting into your community and treating it the way that you want and sharing the values that you guys hold dear. And then a management grant, which could go towards a number of the projects that are mentioned in here, including maybe signage to get people to disperse throughout the community and explore and patron businesses that are not all on Clinton Street. And then there's also in here a recommendation for, you have your welcome center. Not everybody walks into that there's a program through the Colorado Tourism Office where you can train your whole frontline workforce. And it's called Destination Learning Labs. And again, if you have the capacity, it's a wonderful way of like anywhere a visitor walks in, if they're going to get a coffee, they can ask questions. And these frontline workers have been through this training and know all the answers. And they also know about all of the messaging that you want from the Do Colorado Right program that, influences visitor behavior. So with that all laid out there, some of this will add up in terms of the additional person. So that does add to the recommended budget. I know these are tough times. This is just a recommendation to consider for next year. Plus, there's some dollars in there that I know the agency is looking at because the website could use a update and a migration. But within this, if you are able to allocate these additional dollars, I think it really helps navigate this time and go after some grants that will help you manage tourism better throughout the year and throughout this time period. And then it does come back down a little bit as you get into more of an operating budget. So I know I threw a ton at you in about 10 minutes, and I just want to make sure I leave enough time to answer your questions and go over. But I think, this strategy is intended to work and support what you've set up there. And, we always look at continuous and never-ending improvements and try to bring some recommendations that move you in that direction. So with that said, I'll pause for questions.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Really good presentation. Questions up here first, Tom?
No questions. That was
I don't think I can.
informative presentation.
Yeah, really, really comprehensive.
I have a question about the short-term rentals. When you were talking about what they're doing in Boulder, could you describe that with more detail?
Sure. So Boulder has the Sundance Film Festival coming in January, and they will have a shortage of lodging at that time period. And so one of the solutions that they looked at was, could, the residents that may not want to be here during the festival rent out their homes on a limited license. They already, I believe they're two-layer as well. So they have their regular short-term rental program like you do, but then they added this in to deal with the fact that they'll have a shortage of lodging. And so it's limited to 29 days. It's limited to the peak time periods that they'll need the lodging. It's a lower fee. And they can sunset that program if Sundance moves on from Boulder. So the idea here is, you have not a ton of times where you're running at 100% capacity or near it, but with the restriction in lodging that you're facing, this could be a way of quickly ramping up lodging without getting an outside investor to build a new more facilities, or totally changing your program and then have maybe 50 rooms come back online in a few years. So it was a thought as to how you might address that.
Thanks. Yeah, no, that's an interesting thought. And I also was just curious with the short-term rental licenses we have in town now. Are they all being used? Do we have a waiting list? I mean, I wasn't sure what the demand we're facing.
There's about, we have around 7 or 8 of it last 4 to 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Maybe longer, but we haven't been at the cap in a while.
What's the price on those?
For a new license, Angie, I think it's 400.
I think it's 400.
The new license, 400 per room. And that's for a whole unit. There's also a license to rent a room in your house, which my understanding is only one's ever been taken out. There's not a limit on those, and I think that the annual fee is $300. So that would be more in line with the. I don't know. That's not really what he was saying about Boulder. That's what I was thinking they were presenting. That's not what he was saying. He was saying we're vacating the home.
Interesting.
But there is another option there.
And just to give you perspective, Boulder's limited license is $75, but I think their full license is much more in line with like what you all have for your fee.
That'd be a fun discussion to have.
And then you have to pay sales tax on that.
I'm sorry, was that a question?
I mean, that's a larger discussion, and I mean, that is a place where you can start talking. URA did short-term rental excise tax. You can use that to supplement housing. I mean, I think we all know that if we do something like that, it needs to be somebody's primary residence that they own that is not actually taking away from housing. But that is a huge, larger discussion in what was a lot of other pieces in this, Dave. So that was what we all heard short term and went, ah.
Yeah, that's always the more controversial one. I do think it's a really interesting solution and worth discussing, maybe not now, but yeah. And yeah, are there other elements of this? A lot of this really is directed towards giving the agency some direction on how to manage tourism better. I think you're in a really good spot. I think you've got a great agency. Tara's been wonderful to work with. I am concerned about, this closure, as you are, I'm sure. And these are strategies to try and help you navigate that. So,
have you ever heard of a community somehow flipping this around to the folks who were responsible for taking away $1.5 million of revenue from a community?
No, oftentimes it's self-inflicted. I haven't actually encountered your situation. In Leadville, they chose to transition that property to workforce housing. So it was self-inflicted, but I know it's not in your case. So this is just to try and help you address that. So
that makes sense.
Yep.
So Mayor, if I may, there's no action here tonight. These are just recommendations, and I really want to tell Dave a huge thank you, and the tourism office as well, for reporting this mentorship program our way, and then Tara as well for working with Dave as he worked to craft these recommendations. So thank you very much, Dave, for taking the time tonight.
Yeah, appreciate it very much. Thanks, Dave. Anybody in the audience have comments or questions, either in the room or online? And I always say on Zoom, if you can't figure out, they change everything all the time. If you can't figure out how to raise your hand, just unmute yourself and speak up. You don't have that many people on tonight, but hearing none, yeah, like Preston said, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Tara, for all the hard work on this. I look forward to having more discussions on how we can possibly implement some of these ideas and onward and upward, right?
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thanks,
You
Dave.
too.
Thank you.
Thanks again. All right, that takes us to item number 10, presentation on the status of the Beaver Creek Diversion and Restoration Project. Preston.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. One sec while I try to share this. Okay, so wanted to take a few minutes to update everyone on the Beaver Creek Diversion Restoration Project, which the bulk of the project is now complete. I would hope by now that everyone's aware that the Glenda screen and piping and other infrastructure to replace what was wiped out a couple years ago is now in. There's a supplemental piece that we'll talk about a lot more on Tuesday at the special meeting, where you all consider potentially making a notice of award to take on that infiltration gallery portion of the project to garner some more subsurface water that we found is plentiful up there. I want to highlight, this is the only slide I'm going to present. I'm going to turn it over to Ron Alexander. We have the funding agencies, the NRCS, the Colorado Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and then the Colorado Water Conservation Board, really big partners in this project. Meridian Contracting, the construction manager at risk, and then Respect, the design engineer, really great partners in this project, and potentially, well, Respect for sure, but potential partners as we take on the supplemental piece. And then I don't have a logo for Consolidated Consulting Services. That's Joanne Fagan, our longtime engineer and public works director for a period of time, and Ron Alexander. And Ron Alexander has spent, I don't know if he's calculated the hours that he has spent up at that site since, I'll say August of 2025, but it's a lot. It's a lot of hours. So he's going to take you through this PowerPoint, and I think everyone should give a standing ovation to Ron and all the funding agencies, the CMAR, the design engineer, everyone who's made this project happen, because it's a big deal. So, Ron, take it. Yeah, please. And actually, you can use.
Thank you for having us. Again, I'm Ron Alexander. I'm Joanne's partner in Consolidated Consulting. This problem started back 2 years ago, late fall. We had a spring runoff, came down and took out our intake structure for our water system. And so I was up there the day after the storm, and we looked at it, and the stream bank is basically cut about 10 foot deep lower than where our intake structure was. So we were completely without water. We went in, town crews, Preston, myself, went up and hauled pipe up there. We put in some straws, what we call straws. They were pipe structures that we could put into our ditch down below, lay them into the ditch bank, get them up high enough into the creek to get water to get to the town, so that we had emergency water. This is a picture upstream, and this is as it is constructed. It was cut down. We were able to go upstream and cut a synoidal stream bank and put in rock structures and log structures to create an energy dissipator, so that the next time a large storm comes in, it doesn't just wash out our system again. The next slide is a picture of our intake structure box. And then just behind it, you kind of see a gray thing taken off the side, is the Quanta. The Quanta is actually doing all of the work. We've
controlled all the water and we brought it to the Coanda structure. And as the water goes over the Coanda structure, it's designed such that debris and rocks, if they come downstream and anything else, will simply go over the structure. But the water will go through some fins and be collected into a concrete box. And that's collected here. The concrete box has electric valves on it, so the town will be able to control how much water we take out of the Coanda. We don't have to necessarily go up there. They can do that by observing their cell phone and getting online and being able to control that valve. This is just downstream of the box in the Coanda. You can kind of see them in the center of the screen. And underneath where I'm standing is where we have now put our outlet structure in pipe. And so we're taking the water and we're bringing the pipe downstream, down away from the creek area in pipe so that we don't wash out a ditch again. Again, we'll have control. If the water ever gets up enough, it'll go back into the stream and it won't take out our intake structure. Next slide. This is the Coanda itself, and a lot of it is the way it's shaped on the downstream side. The water goes bars that look like a ladder. The water comes over that, and it'll actually take capillary action and suck it around each of those bars and drain it down into the Coanda. And then the bars are protective in that they'll allow the rock and debris to go over the top. Next slide. This is looking downstream of it. And we'll talk about this next week a little bit, but at this location, well, there's two flows of water. There's water that flows down the stream, and then there's actually water that runs below the bed of the stream in the stream bank. It will kind of like bank storage. And what we want to do down below it is build an infiltration gallery that will collect that water that's running down underneath ground. And so it's right at this location is where we will be putting the infiltration gallery. The stream bank below has been reconfigured also here to accept that energy that's coming off the Coanda, slow it down for our infiltration gallery, and control it as it goes downstream. Next slide. This is a stream bank. If the water ever gets up high enough, we'll have stream erosion along both sides, but it'll come down through a grassed and we'll put shrubs and willows and stuff like that into the bank so that there's root balls that control and can protect that stream from opening up and cutting again. This is the road that we built over the top of the pipe so that the town has access to the Coanda. Next slide. As the pipe exits, we brought the pipe out and we put a flow box there. This is a basically a ramp weir, and it measures how much flow we're getting out of the Coanda springs and what we will get out of the infiltration gallery. This also is something the town can monitor so they can see exactly how much water we're collecting. Water goes through the ramp flue, and as it exits that, then we have built a control box that takes the water from a rectangular flow channel and shapes it into pipe. And from here, we've got 2,000 feet of pipe, 1,000 feet of pipe. Sorry, it seemed like 2,000 when we were building it. But it's 1,000 feet of pipe that we followed the old ditch, and we're taking it down in pipe again to this is in a very shelf area. There's a high hillside on the upstream side of our ditch and a very steep downhill side. And we're on a little bench. And so we've got the pipe in, we're ditching pipe, And that allows us to be able to build the road wide enough that we can get along that shelf. This is a close-up picture of that flume. It has a staff gauge on the side, so you can go up there and read exactly how many CFS is going through it. But it also has the electronic measuring of that flow on the side of it. And that's what the pipes and the electrical box are. We have this all set up. It's on solar because there's no power up there and there's no telephone up there. So we have a power box that collects solar energy to charge a battery, to run the valves and the electronic equipment. And we also have a telecommunication system that goes up to the satellites to give us the information that we can bring back into the telephone. Next slide. This is the pipe section along the shelf of the road. You can kind of see how steep the uphill bank is. It's equally as steep on the downhill side. There wasn't much room up there to get things constructed. This is at the end of the pipe where we go back into ditch, open ditch. And it's a very shallow grade ditch. But from here on down, there's a couple places it's on a bench with a high slope on each side. This just happens to go into the trees where the ground is a little more flat and it's a little easier to go. Next slide, I guess.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it.
So last time we talked about this project, we gave a highly conservative estimate at the time because there's a lot of variables and nuance to the project of $4 million for everything. It looks like Meridian's at this point subject to another change order or two, but not going to come anywhere near the GMP that was set out, which is great. And then when you tack on their bid for the infiltration gallery, which we'll learn about more on Tuesday, it shouldn't come in anywhere near $4 million, which is good. But we'll go over all those numbers so that everyone can understand the cost share between the NRCS, DHSEM, and the disaster assistance dollars, and then the town's portion, which is through that CWCB emergency loan. So just wanted to paint a quick picture there, but there's certainly a lot of players that made this project happen. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and I'm glad we had Ron do it because he's so much better at being able to articulate exactly what happened up there and what's in there now, because pictures don't do it justice. So thanks, Ron.
That was great. Quick question before we redid this, did we have the telemetry monitoring flows 365 days a year before? Or because I feel like we didn't know as much about how much water we had during seasons where it was snow or whatever inaccessible. So did we have any sort of monitoring year round before, or it's just a new thing?
We had a monitoring system there, including the guys had to go up and physically read.
That's what I said.
So they didn't have, there's no rumbling yet.
Right. So now even if there's snow on the road, whatever, we can still monitor it.
It's real.
Did you say that Meridian is interested in doing the infiltration gallery?
They're interested in doing the infiltration gallery, yes.
This looks awesome. When do you guys do the bank restoration? When is the bank restoration going to be done? Like you said, they were going to plant some shrubs and willows and.
I think the rebadge just happened. Right?
Most all of it's done. The only place left out is where the infiltration gallery is going to go in. So we want planning stuff
Yes.
and then just
Ripping it out.
Taking it up.
Awesome. It looks great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So can we compare how much water is flowing now to like last year at this time?
Boy,
Well,
every year is different. I mean, we're in a drought. There's no question. There's less flow up there than ever. But, you know, to say that we're probably about equal to last year, but last year was more. Now, the year before was probably more normal. It was like the new normal, except for the one day that it rained.
Yeah.
And then we had, and this was a late August storm. It wasn't a snow melt event. It wasn't runoff. It was a concentrated storm that did all of the damage. So it's, it varies to our rain dance and both next year that we get a little more water. We're running about a BFS and a half, I think, right now. The last time I checked it. It keeps up to 2, and we're taking everything we can out of the creek. So we're not letting very much get past, you know, it's our water, we're taking it out. We're not letting much go by.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Joanne, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we're capturing more of what's available. I mean, there's a lot less available this year than last, but I think the Coend is doing a more efficient job of getting us the water that is there.
Thanks, that's helpful. And then, of course, the filtration galleries could
Get us more water.
Could even get us more.
And then you gotta remember that the Ridgway ditch can only accommodate so much, right? The pipe section, that's a 20-inch pipe.
Yeah, 20-inch pipe. We're designed for about 10 CFS, but the ditch will probably maximum take 3 at this point.
There's some sections that
Without
can take.
Right.
But diversion records show, going back to, I think, 2000 or 2002, show like a max during runoff. I don't remember what year, but you know, maybe seven and a half, like, so that's in the last 25 years, give or take. But yeah, there's sections of the ditch, or the majority of sections of the Ridgway ditch can only accommodate 3, 3.5, maybe 4 CFS. And when you hit that point, it starts to kind of blow out and lose water. So that's another challenge.
And that's why for futurists, the newest number, it's like, we've been talking for years about trying to find a way to pipe the ditch all the way from the diversion to Lake O, which is 3 miles, 3 miles. So, but the more we can pipe, the more the ditch can handle, the less backward loss there is, the less seepage there is. I mean, I think really it needs to continue to be our goal, find funding to piping. But you know, everything has unintended consequences. People brought up the fact that wildlife is drinking out of the ditch. You know, yeah, it's an interesting challenge on all sides. But when I think back to getting the phone call from Preston the day after the big blowout, and just thinking about what a huge challenge it was going to be to try and get this repaired. Year and a half later, more than a year and a half later. First we thought it was to be 8 months. Yeah. So, yeah. So to be here where we are and to have it the way it is, the efficiency and all that, it's really cool. It's a huge relief to finally see it finished. So big thanks to everybody.
Yeah, thank you for all the time that you spent with them.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Thanks, Mom.
Enjoy it as well.
Thanks, y'all.
All right. That takes us to a couple of policy matters. Item number 11 is consideration of streetlight proposal from San Miguel Power. Paul Orr's name on it, but I haven't seen Paul. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, Paul here.
He's hiding. He's hiding. Snuck in.
I'll introduce Paul, Mayor. Paul is the key accounts executive for SMPA, and SMPA submitted a proposal to us to assume ownership, operation, and maintenance of the existing non-metered town-owned outdoor utility pole mounted lights. So a very specific subsect of our street lights. And I'll let him talk more about it, but there's also a lot of information here. So, Paul, thanks for being here.
And I apologize. I saw you there. I just didn't recognize you with the hat on.
That's okay. Take that off. Good to see everyone. Thank you for the opportunity just to talk about this proposal and kind of the intention behind it.
Historically, Ridgway has owned and maintained all of their town lighting, including the decorative lighting, the highway lighting, and all of the street and area lighting. We have worked closely with you all through the dark sky commitments and selecting that lighting. And all the way back to Jen Coates' time here when we were doing a lot of the lighting in town and the bollards and trying to get the color temperature right and the lumens right. We have a lot of history there. The idea and the emphasis behind this proposal is there are still 18 area lights out there that are mounted on utility poles. About half of those have been converted at this point to LEDs that are within compliance of your dark sky obligations. The other half, 7 or 8 of those, are still old technology. I think most of those are high pressure sodium. There might be a couple mercury vapors out there. They are lower wattage and they're decent fixtures, but in terms of really reducing your carbon footprint and lowering the wattage even further, getting consistent lighting throughout the town, it kind of makes sense to go ahead and put LEDs throughout the entire town. That's kind of the first benefit, I think, the biggest, strongest argument. The second piece is that we tend to help a lot. And if there is an issue with outdoor lighting, that's more costly to you under that arrangement because we have to charge for truck rolls, and that's a little bit more costly than if we were to tariff these lights individually. The tariff covers the power and the ownership and operation of those lights indefinitely. For us on our end, it benefits us because those lights have historically been estimated build, and we're trying to manage our billing structure a little bit better, and it's more seamless for us if things are on tariffs as well. So that's some of the impetus from our part, but also the benefit to you on why we submitted this. We talked about this about 8 years ago, and it just kind of fell flat. So we're revisiting it again. I think it's a great time. I think there's some renewables of commitment to dark sky, and this was maybe one of those projects that was outlined and some of the work could be done. The big difference between an LED light and a high pressure sodium or mercury vapor is really color quality. The color temperature on those are fairly similar, but the color quality of an LED is significantly better, the color rendering. So it's safer. You see objects more clearly. The light is directional, so there's less light trespass off of the roadways into people's yards or private property. So there are multiple benefits to actually going ahead and moving forward with just putting a single, it's a 33 watt LED, 3000 Kelvin, and we're looking at a 2700 because I think that's the preferable range for dark sky now. We're putting that in replace of the 8, I believe there were 8 on that proposal, the antiquated legacy lighting that's been out there for so long. We provided a map. I think it's pretty cut and dry. There are a few lights that have been disconnected. I didn't include those in the proposal. I think there were some concerns with property owners that there was a lot of light trespass. Again, you mitigate that a lot with the directional aspects of it. So.
Well, I really appreciate this. I think it's a great idea, good thing to explore. As somebody who walks around town a lot at night, I've mentioned it to Preston, I mentioned it to Terry when he was on council. A lot of the neighborhood LEDs are something about the beam pattern is rectangular.
Yes.
And it's shining partly on the intersection, but then into people's yards. I think that's where we've run into issues of people complaining about light trespass. So I think it'd be great if we could get that kind of interest as well. Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you could take more of the lights than just those ones.
Take ownership of all those decorative lights would be a chore. I don't know if we're prepared to inventory the replacements for those. So, and the other piece of this is because those lights on those roadways are on the higher primary voltage, it requires us to actually roll trucks. So it's a little bit more complicated to change bulbs or do repairs on those. We're equipped to do that. The decorative lights and the others are not quite as complicated. Low voltage.
So to be clear, we're talking about you taking over the non-LED ones and making an LED?
Well, no, all of the utility pole mounted lights.
Okay.
I believe
everything but the decorative lights.
That's correct. There were 18 total.
Okay.
Not that many.
Gotcha.
10 of them are already converted to LED. We would
I think that we probably replace those and then charge the town for that labor. So we inventory those lights, and those would be the ones that we would choose to move forward and just replace the legacy lights, of which there are 8 left.
Gotcha.
Yeah, gotcha.
Are the legacy lights on this map green or blue?
I believe I've color coded those blue, and they should say HPS for
high pressure sodium.
high pressure sodium. Yeah. It's an older technology, and they're higher wattage. And the lumen output, so the actual light output would be similar. The color rendering under the LEDs is obviously better, and the light pattern is better. As John was alluding to, we can get lights that only illuminate the roadways and don't trespass in the private property.
And all the red ones are the decorative.
That's correct.
And are they individually metered?
They are individual. Well, most of those are on a circuit and they're metered as a group. Yes.
Gotcha.
I think this is such a huge step in case town ever wants to move forward with some more work on light trespass between private property owners. If we really take care of some of the things that we control, if we do that out of advance.
You walk and talk, right?
Oh, that sounds to me. Yeah, it sounds great.
Any other questions up here? Any questions in the audience? Come on up, Kuna.
I heard a question for you, and that is, the traditional lights, they're very high up on those poles.
Yes, sir.
And the new one's gonna come down, or they're gonna stay at the same height?
We would replace those at the height that they're at. However, we are able to control the light pattern a little bit more, so there would be less light trespass. There's different types of LEDs that put the lighting more in the roadway versus, a circular pattern that would trespass in private property. But they would be at the same level, so they would be on the same poles, on the same mounts.
Now we have lights over here that are not the same height. If we have a different height, different parts of town where the lights are at. So why not lower those at the same time?
Because these are powered by high voltage and those are low voltage, it's probably the first to be a safety consideration. The high voltage lights have to be mounted at a higher level. So the town lights, the other ones are on a circuit at a lower voltage.
That makes sense. Anybody else? No ask questions. Okay, so this is a meeting a vote, that question?
I'm sorry.
It's meeting a vote.
Yes, sir.
I move to accept SMPA's proposal to, 1, assume ownership and maintenance responsibility for existing qualifying pole mounted outdoor lighting fixtures. 2, convert all necessary fixtures to SMPA tariff outdoor lighting service. And 3, bring all identified lighting fixtures into full compliance with the town's outdoor lighting regulations and dark sky international requirements. I further move to direct staff to execute all agreements necessary to enact said changes.
Second. All right. Motion by Josie, second by Kevin. Call roll, please.
Councilor Scrambley,
Aye.
Greenwood,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Montague, Scoville,
Aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lakin.
Hi.
Great.
Thank you all. Thanks for working with us.
Thanks, Laura. Look forward to seeing that done. That takes us to item number 12. Review and action on intergovernmental grant agreement between the Colorado Energy Office and the town of Ridgway concerning the local impact accelerator. Preston?
Yes, sir. Hang on one second while I bring up the. So as all members of council should know, it was the late part of 2025. Staff got direction from you all to apply for funding from the Local Implementation, Mitigation, and Policy Action Accelerator Grant Program and that's the Local Impact Accelerator Grant, SUMA for short, and that's through the Colorado Energy Office. The application centered around a process that culminates with consideration by the town council to adopt an all-electric building code or a requirement for new construction a few years from now. not anywhere close to today. The application also requested funding for other stuff like municipal and community-wide electrification projects to exceed state and local requirements. That's really the short of it. Terry will come up and give a little bit more information on that here shortly. Back in December, the town was notified by the Energy Office of their intent to award the town a grant in the amount of $1,334,800 for the scope of work that we identified in that application. And over the last, give or take 5 months or so, we've worked with Colorado Energy Office representatives to work through the statement of work, negotiate that statement of work to make sure it fully represents what meets the spirit of what we applied for and works for them. And we're now at the point where we have received this grant agreement, and it's before you for consideration, kind of that point of no return. So I really want to give a shout out to Siobhan with Eco Action Partners in general, for all the assistance they provided in helping to write the grant application. Siobhan in particular, Terry Schuyler, former council member. Oh, Terry, he's going to come up, like I said, instrumental in putting the application together and joining me on those calls with the Energy Office to make sure we meet the spirit of what we have in the application, get that statement of work where it needs to be. And so with that, Terry, I'd love to invite you up to present a few slides that you put together to make sure everyone understands what the scope of that statement of work is, and what this grant would ultimately commit the town to over the next several years.
Great. Good evening, council, mayor. Nice to be on this side of the podium for a change. So this is a short presentation, which is kind of a summary of that 56-page scope of work that's in your packet. And I'm assuming a lot of the folks in the audience probably didn't get a chance to read through that. So I'm just going to hit on the highlights of this and then kind of conclude with a bit of a pitch as to why this is important for the town. Just on this cover slide. One of the things that we mentioned in the grant write-up was the link between the objective for the grant and some of the objectives the town has had through the various documents, resolutions, and plans that we have approved over the last few years. The most recent being the net zero by 2030 resolution, which passed in 2025, which, as a reminder to the council, was intended to go net zero for all municipal operations. Using that as an example for the town to show that we as an organization, as a body, are leading the way in this charge to go net zero and become more energy efficient, more resilient, and more eco-friendly in the way that we use energy. So why was Ridgway awarded these grant funds? In white here, the grant funds, and this is it, all of this is in your packet, and I'm just going to hit on some of these highlights. Grant funds support local governments in adopting policies that extend beyond state requirements to bolster local resilience, reduce emissions, and advance other state priorities such as improved air quality. Our grant focused on one of the 4 categories, which was buildings. And Eco Action Partners and the Sneffels Energy Board, which a number of us have participated in, John in particular, myself. The Climate Action Plan, which the town has adopted, illustrates or shows in data that 45% of the total greenhouse gas emissions coming from our region, and Ridgway specifically, come from building energy use. So attacking building energy use is one of the limited measures that the town can actually have some control over. We have a difficult time improving greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles, from airline traffic, from food use. So buildings is one of the few things that through the building code and through building permit processes, we have some control over. I'm not going to read this in detail, but what does the state grant fund focus on? Essentially, the stretch goal or the policy that exceeds current policies. And as a reminder, the council approved in May the new low carbon energy code, building code for 2024, which includes an all electric EV PV ready provision. So starting July 1st, anybody that applies for a building permit has to abide by the all electric EV PV ready code requirement, which essentially means that if you're bringing in natural gas or any other fossil fuel as a source of energy for your appliances, you also have to bring in an electric circuit to that appliance in preparation for the eventual change out to electricity, as this is the trend in the energy use now and in the future. So that is the policy that is beyond the state requirement. And of course, the state grant fund is to promote these policies that go beyond. Some of the rest of this detail I'm going to go through in the next slide, but this is the summary for those here in the audience of the language that's in the grant as it was written specific to Ridgway. So the key provisions of the grants, and I will walk through this in a little bit of detail. These charts are in the packet itself. There's also a link to the budget document itself, which is fairly lengthy, which is not part of the 56 pages that you do have in your packet. But if you had a chance to click on that, you could see the nuts and bolts and the sausage making. But provision one, the grant provides funds for consultants, a number of consultants. They might end up being one consultant that performs multiple tasks, but there's provisions for hiring consultants through the competitive bid process to conduct extensive research, education, stakeholder engagement, community outreach, and permitting and implementation support in advance of the all-electric for new construction code amendment being adopted. So essentially, there's money upfront in the first three phases to go through all of the necessary research to show the pros and cons and look at all of the details associated with why going all electric is cost effective, why it's better for health, why it's better for the environment, why it's potentially a better option for the building community. The outreach and stakeholder engagement would include workshops for architects, builders, realtors, the community at large, just like we do with a variety of the other multiple plans that we put in place recently. There would be an extensive workshop program involved in educating based on the research that's being conducted by these consultants. Next, to provide funding for the town municipal buildings, this one included, for electric retrofits, helping to meet the net zero goal by 2030. In fact, there's $120,000 in this grant, which is divided by money in the first three tasks or phase one prior to adopting the all electric code to do retrofits that would include heat pumps and water heaters and electric appliances for the town facilities people and the maintenance staff. 35,000 of that is eligible to us up front. And then if we pass the all electric code amendment, then it frees up the other 84,000, which would then include a consultant going through and doing a full inventory of all of the appliances in all of our municipal buildings and coming up with a plan to replace those and money to support the change out of those appliances. Next, it provides incentives for new construction, electric incentives of $391,000 that will be put into a pool where a consultant would then devise a rebate program that would be apportioned to people building new homes that abide by and comply by the new code. And just putting some context on that, the recent housing needs assessment study that was put out in 2025 has a number of rich data sets in there. And in that set, it's expected that by 2044, 20 years from now, there's a potential for 70 new homes in Ridgway. That's the expected growth, which is approximately 10 to 11% per year. And I'm assuming that's about 10 homes a year. I'm trying to get over Angie. Is that roughly consistent with the number of house building permits we see a year?
Full disclosure, I've only been here 2 years, actually less. Maybe about
10, 11 per year, roughly.
I mean, maybe
Doesn't-
not all the townhomes that are,
Okay.
getting constructed. Maybe we see a little more.
More, okay. Well, assuming that in the period of this grant, we had 30 new home build outs, this grant fund would provide $13,000 of incentive per home. I mean, that's enormous. That's way more than covers the gap of switching out gas appliances. If the potential for 206 new homes in 20 years was available for these rebates, that's $1,500 per home to incentivize that. One thing that's not clear, and Preston and I will work through that when we're working with the implementation of the grant, is how long do we have to when do we have to spend these grant funds by? If it's 3 years, we have to spend $391,000 in incentives for new construction, we may end up leaving a lot of money on the table. Second, the next provision, and one of the options that we're going to explore as part of the program development is an option to not abide by the code amendment. If you do not want to comply with the all-electric code, we're going to look at options. Well, what's one option that's got precedent throughout various other communities in our region, in SFPA's region, also throughout the state, is a fee in lieu. So rather than complying and receiving incentives to comply, you could pay a fee and that money would then go back into this incentive pool. Maybe it would be partitioned to low-income housing or something else where we'd make effective use of that money. So whereas this appears to be a mandate, it's a completely funded mandate. And it also has options where if you don't want to abide by the mandate, there may be options to do something else. Next, provide rebate incentive funding for electric retrofits for existing homes. There's almost $520,000. Total, these incentives are $916,000, which is 68% of the grant is going to these incentive pools. The $520,000 would be available once, by the way, all of these incentive monies are only made available to town once we do pass that amendment. If we don't pass the amendment, then we forfeit the $916,000. But assuming that we get to the point where the town votes to pass that code amendment, then it would free up $520,000 for existing homes that already have natural gas or not to retrofit to either new appliances or upgrade to more efficient appliances. And putting perspective on that, currently there is 643 homes in Ridgway. If we divided that fund by every home in Ridgway, that's $800 a home. If in fact we only 25% of the existing homeowners were to take advantage of that, they could get as much as $3,200 in incentives to change out appliances from gas to electric. So very, very healthy and generous incentive program. There is a potential cost impacts to town. It requires a 5% match. 68% of that match, which is roughly, I didn't calculate the number, wouldn't be expended until we've expended all of those incentives. So likely the budget impact is going to be fairly minimal in 2027. It's going to ramp up a little bit in 2028, and it's in 2028 and 2029 when these incentive pools kick in, and that's where we would effectively have to come up with 5% matching if we in fact spent all of those rebate pools, which over the course of 3 years would be $66,740. Just as a reminder of some of the existing initiatives, so the town council voted to ratify the regional climate action plan. In that climate action plan, you can see in this particular yellow highlighted thing, one of the actions that we've agreed to is adopt an energy code that achieves equivalent or better energy performance than the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code and model electric and solar ready code developed by the Energy Code Board. As a quick reminder, and I'm sure you've heard this throughout the course of the last couple of years, Kim Wheels, who I think is online as well, she was chosen among a number of competitive people to be on the board that came up with the new state required low energy code that we have now adopted and will be implemented in July 1st. So there's been a lot of local support, a lot of local effort put into what is now a state new code requirement. So any municipality that adopts a new building code has to now abide by the all electric EV PV ready requirement. And they're being encouraged to look at, there's a whole host of amendments. One of the amendments is this one, which is to require all electric for new construction. So it's been a kind of a Herculean effort by a number of people in this region to get to this point. So again, so adopting the all electric code, which by the way, would not come up for a vote for council until the spring of 2028. So that's long after the energy, the outreach and community stakeholder education program.
Sorry to interrupt you. I thought
Sure.
the timeline in there that you just went on, maybe it was in the packet, but it'd be for a vote by December of 27.
No, well, the information leading up to that has to conclude by the end of December 27. So the vote wouldn't happen until early 2028.
Got
it. Good question.
Thanks.
So key takeaways for tonight's motion to approve. So you're not voting to approve the actual code amendment. You're really just voting to approve accepting the grant and the scope of work that was outlined. The actual vote for that amendment wouldn't occur, as I said, until 2028, through 2028, after we've gone through all of the research and education. The funds cover all consultant costs, the town building retrofits, generous incentives, 68% of the grant for both new construction compliance and existing home retrofits. The small to no budget impact, and I'm going to mention that briefly, Preston has discovered that in the grant paperwork, or maybe through conversations, they may actually waive our 5%. It's possible that we won't have any budget impact. And even if so, it's $66,000 over 3 years. So a conclusion significantly advances both our net zero goals approved and passed by the town council for municipal operations and encourages through $900,000 incentives for local residents to follow suit and do the same thing. So in summary, in conclusion, maybe not. Yes, thank you. So I'm encouraging the council to accept these generous funds. They provide significant financial incentives. We move the ball, we protect our community, we walk the talk. We follow through with council approved commitments in our master plan, our climate action plan, and our 2026 strategic plan. And it helps Ridgway become sustainable and a healthy place to call home. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
Thanks, Terry. Good job. Any questions?
I have a question. Thank you so much for your work in making this happen. It's very exciting. I was just curious. I understand the focus on buildings, in particular this building. Was there any discussion about adding solar panels to this building to be saving?
It's a great question. And when we applied for the grant, there was 3 buckets. One was the standard, which was up to $2 million. The constraint was if they didn't have the money, they had a lot of applicants, they'd only entertain up to 500,000. And then the vision budget was up to 5 million. And in so we had to put in the grant proposal, we had to identify what we would fund if we were only given 500, 2 million, or 5 million. In the 5 million, we had entertained putting solar on all of the town buildings and in the Green Street Park. It would pay for, all the solar in Green Street Park. And ultimately, because of the number of applicants, they punted on the $5 million vision budget and they focused on the standard budget. So the standard budget was 2 million, up to 2 million. And we got 1.33 out of that, and it nixed any available funding for solar. So unfortunately, that didn't make the cut in the grant program.
And I'll add to that, I vaguely recall, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, they really wanted the focus to be the policy exploration. Not to be redundant, but this does not require, accepting these grant dollars does not require a yes vote in early 2028. This comes before you all. This is just to assist in that policy analysis, right? But to go back to the solar thing, I vaguely recall them saying, we don't want to fund anything solar. We just want to focus on the policy stuff. So they were I'm pretty sure they're pretty blatant on it.
The reality is we couldn't figure out what else to put in the budget to make it up to $5 million. And so this is pretty, as I said, 900,000 for incentives. So I know one of the issues that came up before council, one of the feedback was it'd be nice to incentivize people to do this. Well, this is it. So this has got incentives for compliance and incentives for those that already have natural gas that would want to follow suit, follow the example of the town and take advantage for maybe as much as $3,200 of incentives. So I'm going to take advantage of it. That's for sure.
Other questions? Thank you for that very clear presentation.
Good.
That was a good presentation.
It's a lot to absorb, that 56-page document. I know from having to read it before. Actually, I've read it about 20 times.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions in the audience. Go ahead. Come on up to the podium.
Representing who I am.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Natalie Booth. I live here in town in Ridgway. I saw in the presentation that the grant would cover the cost of a consultant to manage these funds. But my question is, when it comes to homeowners of new builds or homeowners who are retroactively refitting things, would the onus be on the homeowner to apply for rebates or on the contractors who are doing the work to get their work funded through this fund? And that's my question.
Thanks, Natalie.
It's a great question. So one of the initial tasks that the consultants, and it may be more than one consultant for all these various tasks, is to devise the rules of the program. And so that would get fleshed out during the development of the program rules for the incentives in particular. And my guess is they're going to be pretty flexible about who applies. So it could be the homeowner, it could be the contractor. It's basically based on the building permit. So I don't think it's really gonna matter who applies so much.
And I highly doubt a contractor's gonna apply without telling the homeowner.
Oh, so-
No, but I think what Natalie is trying to say is for a homeowner who might
Hold
not
on.
have.
Hold on. Go ahead now.
Yeah, that was just my clarification, was basically just like, who is that extra step put onto?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Beth.
No, I was going to say, I think that'll be part of how when we put rules together, there may be homeowners who can't front that money. And how can we, as a town, figure out, right, rather than being reimbursed, can the town somehow fund it at the same time?
Yeah, that's a great question. Could it be a prebate rather than a rebate? And I don't know that the state has any particular requirements. Their requirement is that they give us money back as a town as a rebate, but as to how we implement the incentives, I think that's going to be devised in the program. So it could be an upfront prebate rather than a rebate.
Or a
Could be
payment to the contractor rather than the homeowner being out of pocket for that.
It could be. I mean, if I were the homeowner, I'd want to see the money myself.
I mean,
That's something-
I want to run it through my card and get my points, but that's me.
Yeah.
Tricia.
Hi, Mr. Savage, also resident. You talked a lot about the rebates and incentives, and Trish asked about the solar panels. And Preston said to not finance anything like solar. So are you saying all of the incentives and rebates are for increased demand, increased electric demand, but there are not incentives and rebates available through this funding for offset? Solar, wind, whatever, some other kind of offset.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what Preston said, is the requirements in the grant are that we can't use the rebate pools for energy generation, essentially. That's not to say that there are not other incentives. There used to be a solar incentive until this new administration. SMPA has solar incentives available. So and that's a great segue to Paul's here. Part of what I expect the consultants will do is to work closely with SMPA to see how to best leverage the incentives that they have available so as to combine them, multiply the effect, so that this is an amazing opportunity. I mean, a small town of our size to have $900,000 incentives. Paul, how much incentive money do we have on an annual basis for all of this stuff? Probably very little. And so this is a extremely $100,000 maybe. And that's throughout all of SMK's territories. This is incentives focused just on town of Ridgway residents, not outside of the incorporated town too. So.
But if that pushes up our rates and pushes up potentially into demand rates, which are insane.
Right.
Because you're increasing your electric loads.
There are ways to manage that. I can help you with that.
Paul, come on.
I was gonna say, it's not just increasing demand, because I think there is funding set
Paul,
aside for.
Come on up so that people online can.
Is that correct, Terry? It is for energy efficient retrofits as well, so it would be reducing demand in some cases,
Right.
but it is for electrification, so there could be some demand potential increase, but I think there is also the potential for energy reduction through more efficient appliances.
And also total energy bill reduction, because you're offsetting the use of natural gas. So you're no longer paying for natural gas, you're paying for electricity. So you're switching one energy source to another, or one energy use to another. And of course, as recently natural gas is going up, fuel's going up.
But not as much as peak rates.
Peak rates have gone up if only you use the appliance during peak times. I have my house set up so I don't use anything during peak times. I have a battery system that takes that load.
And
So
you don't have water heat, electric water.
No, I have gas, and I'm gonna use this incentive to switch that out. And do an electric boiler instead of a gas boiler.
And it also switches the calculus on a lot of things. I ran the costs on a house that I own for doing solar panels, and I was coming out with like a 38-year payoff because I still have natural gas. Taking advantage of an incentive to switch my appliances to natural gas actually means that the payoff on solar panels becomes something reasonable, not longer than my mortgage.
What is something reasonable?
I would have to run that calculus. I don't have those appliances in. But I mean, I would say less than 30 years would make a lot of sense. 38 years didn't make sense.
You know, part of what's going to happen in the research is not only looking at the difference in capital costs for replacing some of your gas appliances with electric. Of course, you have to pay a fair amount of money to bring in gas, typically $12,000 a home just to bring in gas, the tap fees and the piping and so forth. So it's not only going to look at the capital cost delta, and there are currently a number of studies that show it's actually less expensive to build an electric home than a gas/electric home, but also looking at the operating costs over the lifetime of the home. So all that research is going to come out funded by this grant by consultants taking advantage of the most current data available. The data I just referenced was produced in 2022 by the Rocky Mountain Institute, showing that in most regions in the country, it's cheaper to build an all-electric home. Another example of that is of the 90-some housing units that were recently built in the town of Ridgway, including the Space to Create, including Wetterhorn, including Riverfront Village. Thank you, River Park Village, and the new one across the highway. They all went all electric without being incentivized. And they did that because it was cost effective.
Well, but also because two of those ones you mentioned, the town was the financial component of, and so they had to be all electric. So it wasn't like they just chose to. I mean, just to be clear, Wetterhorn and Space to Create had to be all electric.
Right. But, and there were incentives created.
I thought that was part of the grant.
No.
I guess just Wetterhorn was.
I'm not even sure what it was.
There was no requirement.
I thought that was what we passed. Oh, it was a little straight before we passed that thing, but that is one of the things that we passed a year ago.
Well, I think we passed in the resolution was that we would promote if we're going to use town funds as an offset tap fees.
Tap fees and stuff.
Right.
It's not required for new construction at all yet. That's what we're talking.
What was the resolution we passed last year, Don?
The resolution.
It's a resolution, not an ordinance.
Yeah, it was like, it was basically walking the talk. We said that was the goal. That was what the resolution said. It didn't make it a requirement. We don't have a requirement for new construction yet.
However, other municipalities, 106 right now, other municipalities have already passed all electric codes, including the city of New York, LA, the whole state of New York. So this isn't a new concept. It's just catching on. So we're not the first ones to take the arrows on this.
But they also had no burning. Right, long before they went all electric, they also outlawed wood burning.
Oh, interesting.
Long before that.
In New York
It's all
City, that's a good
actually
thing.
driven. If it's all actually Clean Air Act.
I don't know the details of that, but I just saw the statistic on what municipalities have done all electric.
Yes, they went with Clean Air Act decades ago.
Great. Any other questions?
Other questions?
Is it public comment time or is this just questions?
No, you can make comment. Come on.
I'm Sheridan Ribbing. I'm a resident of Ridgway. I'm also on the Sustainability Advisory Board. Also during my day job, I work to help with building energy efficiency and electrification. And I've been doing some of this for a couple of years. And I just want to say that this is such an amazing opportunity for residents to electrify. And well, what Trisha says makes a lot of sense. Like it would seem to increase demand. Heat pumps are just so much more efficient and they bring AC to the town. So we're giving people free money to get AC while, summers are getting hotter and we don't even have to vote to make everything all electric in the future. This grant just gives us the money to help people retrofit their homes, which would be an amazing opportunity, especially as we know it's been really hot. And heat pumps are so much more efficient, and these rebates could possibly also include things like air sealing and insulation, which decreases demand, just like heat pumps do. So energy efficiency as a whole could really help a lot, and maybe won't even increase demand if done correctly.
It could decrease, yeah.
Yeah, just to support the work that she does, I was the first one to apply for the on-bill rebate. I think I mentioned that to council before, to put in a heat pump in my house. And so I got, I'm paying for that heat pump through my electric bill. I didn't have to borrow money for it. I am borrowing money, but it's paid through my electric bill. So there's a program that Sheridan manages on behalf of, what's the name of the organization? The Collective Clean Energy Fund, which is supplying the low interest loans to do that. So there's all kinds of programs that this grant will allow us to try to leverage to make it as cost effective and as efficient as possible for people to build comfortable homes that are low cost to build and low cost to operate. So that would be the ultimate goal. And that's what the first few tasks are designed to do is to do all that research and education and take advantage of all the new information that's out there. A couple of years ago, you couldn't buy a heat pump. You couldn't find one. You couldn't find a contractor, and that's changing now. So that I'm an example of that. And by the way, Tricia, I have mine set on a timer so it doesn't go off during peak time. So I don't pay an extra demand charge for my heat pump, which also filters the air. When the smoke from all the wildfires come in, I can close my windows, run my heat pump, and have filtered air. So it's a health thing as well. Yeah.
Thanks,
All right,
Barry.
thanks.
Other comments, questions? Somebody ready to make a motion? Oh, yeah, come on up.
Nathan, Ridgway. So I'm the service guy that some of you guys call. I know some of you guys have some old boilers in your house, which last a long time. Some of these old boilers can last 26 to 30 years and hit a 91% efficiency. The new boilers that I've been working on here lately, they hit 95, 96 efficient. They say they're efficient, but in the long run, within 3 to 5 years, the blower motor goes out, the motherboard goes out, a little sensor goes out. And that's the same thing with heat pumps too. Heat pumps, you put so much technology into a system, you're injecting so many other fail points to the system itself. So think about the time it takes, the fuel it takes to have a service guy come out and change a $25 part when he's spending $50 in gas there and back. You know, think about the time and energy it takes to make all these little parts, you know. So it's old school technology lasts a long time. And I'm the witness of that, because I'm the one that changes the stuff around here. And so, you know, having the incentive or not incentive of saying, hey, if you don't want to go full electric, you know, you still want to go gas, I'll pay that fee, not a problem. But looking at the long run, being the service guy that services all this stuff, you know, heat pumps, the pumps will last 3 to 5 years, depending on if you wear them out, if you really use them up, then okay, 3 to 5 years, you're going to be calling me. I'm going to be going out there swapping out an $800 pump and also charging you my time, my gas, and energy. But that's just something to think about. Is like 91 efficiency to 95 efficiency. You know, think about, okay, in 4 to 5 years, what else is going to go out in that 95 efficient piece of equipment? You know, you got motherboards, sensors, parts, pumps, compared to old technology that lasts 26 to 30 years without having to change a part out.
Thank you.
The only thing I'd add, Nate, is that you've worked on my boiler, and the amount of money I've spent having that boiler fixed over the last 30 years is just the same as what you're claiming happens to heat pumps. And I don't think the data is there that heat pumps fail after 3 to 5 years. I just don't think that's true. So, and to me, really the biggest part of this is walking the talk, trying to make a difference. We've got a serious, if anybody still thinks we're going to have a climate change issue, I don't know what to say, but we need to do something. Reducing our carbon footprint is essential. And this goes a long ways towards starting to address that. And that's what I feel very strongly about. So other comments, questions? You ready for motion? It's right at the top. It's on the second page of it.
I move to accept the local impact accelerator grant that has been awarded to the town of Ridgway and authorize Mayor Clark to sign the intergovernmental agreement.
Second.
Who made it?
I did.
Motion made by Polly, seconded by Trish. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Grambling,
Aye.
Greenwood,
Aye.
Kroger, Montague, Scoville, and Mayor Pro Tem Layton.
Hi.
Great, thank you. That passes unanimously. Onward. Thanks, Terry. Thanks. All right, that takes us to public hearings. Our one public hearing of the night is item number 13.
Angie's gonna take this on. It's River Park Ridgway Business Park, filing 3 final plat, the subdivision of outlot PC/3 of River Park PUD filing 1, Town of Ridgway. Location North Laura Street between Auto and Railroad and west of North Core. Address North Laura Street, Roundhouse Street, McCall Street. Zone light industrial, LI, and mixed residential MR. Applicant Charles Mueller. Take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. That's strong. Okay, so this application represents the third and final phase of the River Park PUD. So it's exciting that we're here. This is the vicinity map that's showing the highlighted parcel. The current configuration is 19.03 acres of contiguous land. The parcel has split zoning, 12.55 acres are mixed residential, while 4.35 acres are light industrial. And this breakdown will help me explain the configuration for this proposal. So the proposed configuration, which is consistent with the prior preliminary plat that has been conditionally approved, contains 3 light industrial blocks, 9, 10, and 11, right-of-way dedicated to the town in the amount of 2.16 acres, and the remainder is the mixed residential portion, also called Lot 1, which is 12.55 acres. Jumping back in time to some of the prior approvals associated with this development, some key points are that the preliminary plat was conditionally approved in 2001 for all 3 phases of River Park PUD. Then there was a PUD amendment in 2006 that allowed for the right-of-way extension to create some of the remaining light industrial blocks that were there in the industrial park. Then the preliminary plat was redone in 2008 concerning phase 3 specifically to reconfigure right-of-way and modify the alley slightly. And blocks were also slightly modified during that redo. Then the preliminary plat approval from 2008 received extensions every 2 years since, so that conditions of approval could be met. And in 2004, the applicant applied for a rezone into its current configuration, or zoning configuration rather. So it's important for me to note here that the remaining conditions of approval from earlier approvals were carried over to the latest approvals and this request. And that any remaining conditions of approval have to do with the future development of the mixed residential portion, also noted here as Lot 1. And they will be memorialized on the final plat before recording the document. Those conditions are related to the beautification easement, doing landscaping there, and other improved park space that is required on Lot 1. So with this configuration, this is a screenshot from the current plat. There's right-of-way dedication for North Forest Street, McCall Street, and Roundhouse Street extensions and sidewalks. This is a more recent aerial image showing the conditions. You can see that the right-of-way has been built out, parking's been striped, there's traffic control devices, stop signs installed, there's street lights, and most recently, some landscaping, street trees are installed. So yeah, coming along. There's no immediate future development that's proposed with this application. So these next few slides are just in here for educational purposes. This is from our future land use map and in our master plan, and it shows that the parcel is sectioned off into 3 different sections. Single family neighborhoods, mixed neighborhoods, and employment are all represented on this parcel. There's more in your packet that covers the details of like what those future land uses mean, the density proposed there, and more details about what is envisioned for those pieces. But also there's pieces in your packet about how this development supports various policies of the master plan. And then related to zoning, just show the split zoning again. There's going to be the district standards that development will have to meet. That gets reviewed when further development is proposed. But I put these in here just in case anyone was curious. about, you know, height setbacks, dimensional standards. And this is for light industrial. So this is page 1 of filing 3. I included the whole plat in your packet. Staff does have additional red lines to be addressed, which has been added as a recommended condition of approval for this application. And staff red lines are addressing 2 main points: that remaining conditions are noted, and that notes on the plat are in substantial conformance with the preliminary plat, and that engineering is accepting of language about stormwater infrastructure that has been installed. So this is page 2. And then I also included snippets from the prior plat. So this one's coming from the 2001 original preliminary plat. And this is from the 2008 preliminary plat. So you can see that it's very similar to what's proposed today. The preliminary plat was conditionally approved under the prior code. That review process was outlined in your packet. I also included the process for final plat under the current code so that I could give you guys these review criteria that are listed on the screen so that they could be considered. But all in all, the process from the old code to the new code is not that different. A note about the Planning Commission recommendation. So Planning Commission utilized a staff recommendation for conditions, but I do have an update based on new information that did not make it into your packet. Condition 3 can actually be removed since the development and subdivision improvement agreement. Remaining items are simply related to that future development of the mixed residential portion. So lot 1, and they will be noted on the final plat. So the revised staff recommendation does include the other conditions to make sure we're capturing what was part of the preliminary plat, receiving all fees that are due, and getting the plat in its final form to the satisfaction of engineering and planning. And a recommended motion is on your screen. It is revised from what is in your packet. I apologize for that. It excludes that one condition. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? This is a public hearing, so we're going to go by the formal process. First, we ask staff if they have any comments or additional, or we have questions, we can ask that. And if there aren't any, then we have the applicant present anything he wants to present. And then we will comment and do that, and then close that and deliberate. So, questions? None? Okay, been a long time coming. Come on up, Charles, give us your thoughts. Right?
Careful, yes.
Well, thank you. I'm Charles Mueller, live here in Ridgway. And yeah, thank you staff for all the work they've done. There's been a lot of engineering help and just lots of time and energy put into this over many, many years. So glad to be finally wrapping up this, at least the continuance. We've had many continuances of this over many, many, many years, as Angie outlined there. I don't have too much to add. I mean, I think her presentation speaks for itself. The reason that this is only 3 lots is because we want to, at some point in the future, further subdivide them to make them the proper size for the eventual end user. If we were to make arbitrary lot lines right now, invariably they'd be too big or too small. And if you look at what's out there right now, almost without exception, the one exception being Stella, they're the only people that actually seem to live within their boundaries of their lot. And I just think it's prudent to be able to make the lots the proper size for the eventual end user. So that's why what's being proposed right now is simply 3 lots divided by the existing streets. And given that the staff recommendation has some latitude, Angie and I found a couple plat notes that are not really applicable, or that need to be amended. And I think, can I speak to that finished floor elevation briefly, or is that too much detail?
It's kind of an engineering thing and.
Well, Joanne was on the line, but she's not maybe in the middle of it all, but, there was an old plat note about the finished floor elevation being 18 inches above the road. Well, we just spent over $500,000 on a storm sewer system that the town is not, we built it to town specs. The town's not going to accept it. It's going to be ours in perpetuity. But to me, that's a hangover from the old plat that makes no sense, because first off, that should always be a site-specific deal, a building permit to me. And also, it should have more to do with the invert elevation of the storm drain rather than street grade. And each lot now has its own storm sewer inlet. And we have all the detention underground so that all the surface is usable. And so the way the plat note reads now, someone would need to bring in 18 to 24 inches of fill, and their building would be so much higher than the buildings across the alley. It makes no sense to me. So all that's to say is if you approve it the way that it's presented here, I think it's fine, and that will allow us to work with the town engineer to hopefully remove that plat note, because I think it's superfluous now that we put in a big stormwater detention program, and they didn't have that when they built the original phase. And so it's a whole new world out there, and I think we're properly addressing any kind of stormwater runoff. It's, in my estimation, extremely over-engineered. But that being said, that's what engineers do, so I understand. Otherwise, I'd ask for your approval. I'm happy to answer questions. I think everything else is done to the town's standards and then some. So yeah, appreciate your support.
Thanks, Charles. Does anybody have a question for Charles? Okay. I will open up the floor to public comment. Anybody wants to, come on. Okay, I got two questions, and that is, when I bought my property over there on the, in another filing, that was a similar situation that we had big lots, and then later came in and sized them to what's needed to the individual people that bought it. Now, that was not a process that needed to go through another public hearing, but it was a process that was administrative. My question is, when Charles in the future wants to subdivide these 3 lots that he's now subdividing this whole section into 3 lots, will he be required to go through another public hearing? Or is this just an administrative saying, yeah, you can make this lot 75 feet, the next one will be 65, according to the needs of the individual businesses? And that's my first question. And my second question is, it seems like with the property being so in need and desire, you have 60% coverage only on a piece of property that you're paying a lot of money for. If you're an industrial customer or in a construction business like I am, I would say that's not enough. Because it doesn't need to be pretty over there. It needs to be functional. So I think we should have a higher coverage of the ground available for future use in the industrial section. Thank you. Thanks, Carl. Any other public comments? Okay, hearing none, I will run back up here for deliberation. Am I right that the recommended motion in the packet is slightly different than what you have?
Yeah, the one, we want the one in the packet. Condition 3 is.
We ready for a motion?
Yep.
I move to approve the final plat for River Park Business Park, filing 3, finding that the criteria set forth in RMC 7-5-2 C3 have been met with the following conditions. One, prior to recordation of the final plat notes will be modified to the satisfaction of Town of Ridgway Engineering Department and the operation and maintenance of the private stormwater system. Two, prior to recordation of the final plat, the plat notes will be updated to better align with the preliminary plat, plus existing improvements to the satisfaction of TOR Planning Department. Number three, prior to the recordation of the final plat, all fees due shall be paid, including water and sewer taps for each block created.
Second.
Motion made by Michelle, seconded by Josie. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Graham-Wood,
Aye.
Greenwood,
Aye.
Grover,
Aye.
Montague, aye, Scoville,
Aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem Lakin.
Hi.
Great, that's unanimously. There we go, Charles.
Thank you.
Alrighty then, that takes us to policy matters, and at least one thing that I know prior. First off, item number 14, first reading of ordinance number 04/2026, establishing section 7-3 community housing regulations of Ridgway Municipal Code and amending section 7-9-2 general definitions to define communities. Angie.
Thank you. I'm gonna make this much briefer than our last meeting. We had a work session on this last month in case anyone was not present. All right, so the ordinance before you establishes the Ridgway Municipal Code, section 7-13, community housing regulations. The reason that it's 7-13 is because we are working on chapter 7 updates, and 13 was the next available section. So it changed from 7-7 when we initially started the conversation about affordable housing regulations to now 7-13. These are intended to be town's version of an inclusionary zoning policy. This is also an incremental approach to an inclusionary housing requirement in an effort to support the development of housing that serves the local workforce. And there's two parts to this program. One is the codified piece, which are the regulations that are covered in your ordinance. And then there's the guidelines, which focus a lot on administration of the program. Guidelines are also written so that they do not need to be codified, just adopted by resolution, and can therefore be easily updated and remain dynamic. Oops, something's happening with the presentation. Sorry, that was me. Thank you. Community housing has been defined as units restricted for occupancy by eligible households that are restricted for ongoing affordability in accordance with a covenant approved by the Town of Ridgway attorney. And then this chart that's shown on here is the area median income chart. Area median income is often used for assessing affordability and affordable housing eligibility. Last meeting in the work session, we talked about how this chart gets updated every year, and it had recently been updated. So your packet has the 2026 chart in it. The requirement is for 10% of units or lots to be dedicated as community housing in developments of a certain scale. So the target AMIs are dependent on whether a unit is for ownership or if it's for rental. So for ownership, it's 140% of the area median income, and for rental, it's 100% of the area median income. It's the target. This is applicable to developments where there's 3 or more units or lots. That's where applicability is coming into play. Related to compliance, the community with the program, a community housing plan is a new submittal requirement. It's required to be submitted by the developer, and it should discuss how the project complies with these regulations. The program offers multiple means of compliance. So we have a standard versus an alternative compliance method. I'll get into those a little bit, but developers can propose a mix of compliance methods in their community housing plan. Household eligibility, we covered this in depth last time, but again, that 140 AMI for ownership and 100% AMI for rental, it should be the household income maximum. They need to occupy their unit as their primary residence, 9 out of any 12 months. They cannot own other developed residential property in Uray County. And 1 household member needs to be employed in Uray County or retired from Uray County business. And there is a number of hours worth that is the minimum. And then there's some qualifying criteria for what kind of housing can actually be community housing. Units used for community housing need to be reasonably comparable to the market rate units in a development. So factoring things in like unit size, number of bedrooms, storage, accessibility, energy efficiency, and then whether they're for sale or for rent units. And then other amenities. Some of the other qualifying criteria include there needs to be a covenant that's recorded. That's the actual deed restriction. That there is a first right of refusal for the town or a town approved housing agency to purchase the community housing unit if ever it sells. Fair marketing is required. And then there's also location requirements. The preference is for on-site. So the development that triggers the requirement should also supply the community housing. There's also a timeline and phasing requirement so that we're making sure that the community housing gets built alongside the market rate development. Some of the alternative compliance options, well, I guess I should cover standard first. The standard compliance pathway would be providing the appropriate number of community housing units or lots within the development that triggered the requirement. So that's just standard compliance. But as mentioned, there's a lot of flexibility so that the program offers several alternative compliance options, one of which is other reasonable methods. It allows the developer to propose something creative. Dedication of land is the first. And there's also, well, it's dedication of land, lots in lieu, there's a fee in lieu option, and then providing any amount of required community housing offsite. We've created offsite criteria. So one of these criteria have to be met in order to propose community housing to be offsite instead of within the development that triggered it. Talks about incompatible uses, talks about proximity to businesses and transit. For dedication of land, the land has to be large enough to accommodate the required number of community housing units. There can't be any constraints on the property or easements or anything that would prevent somebody from putting that appropriate number of units on the property. Lots in lieu, similar but different because the lots would actually require that public infrastructure is included to support the development of the required number of units. Then our fee in lieu is a little bit different because it only applies when there's a fractional requirement. So that means when the calculation for community housing results in a fraction of a unit or a fraction of a lot above a whole number. So only that fractional portion could be paid as a fee in lieu. We talked a lot in the last meeting about how to do these calculations, so I don't think I need to go there today. And like I said, the other alternative is other reasonable methods. So a developer in their community housing plan that they submit to the town could propose a unique method that demonstrates that it will effectively achieve the intended purpose of these regulations, that it's consistent with town goals and the master plan. And then a development agreement should be included as part of that, and it is subject to town council approval. So people can get very creative. Again, we went over these compliance calculations a lot in the work session. So if anybody has questions, remaining questions on those, I can cover those at the end, but I won't get into it too much. There's a calculation for figuring out the amount of community housing required, and there's a calculation for figuring out what your fee inlet would be, if that's the route you go. And it is based on scale of the development. The program also separates some things related to sale versus initial sale versus resale, and then rental of the units. So there's a lot more detail in your packet. We went into this in a lot more detail in the last meeting. I don't know if there's any remaining questions on that. Please feel free to ask at the end. Rental, some of the big things here are that, of course, renters must qualify based on the criteria, and that no short-term rental is allowed for any community housing unit. And that concludes my presentation.
Thanks, Angie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Questions for Angie?
Well, again, thanks for all the work that you have.
You too, thank you.
Comments in the room, questions? It's a lot of work, so I think it's a little great. Next step. Seeing none, somebody want to make a motion?
I move to approve, Town of Ridgway, Colorado.
We're introducing.
Oh, it's the first reading. I saw it plenty, so I thought we've already done this. I move to introduce the Town of Ridgway, Colorado ordinance number 04-2026, an ordinance of the Town of Ridgway, Colorado, establishing section 7-13 community housing regulations of the Ridgway Municipal Code and amending section 7-9-2 general definitions to define community housing.
Second. All right, motion by Michelle, second by Kevin. Roll call vote, please.
Councilor Gremley,
Aye.
Greenwood.
Aye.
Kroger. Aye. Montague. Aye. Scoville. Aye. And Mayor Pro Tem Lakin.
Aye.
That's unanimously. Thank you. Item number 15 is consideration of authorizing expenditure in excess of $25,000 pursuant to the town's procurement policy. Sidewalks in the post office area and the Valley Can on Clinton Street. Preston.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So as you just said, the sidewalks in the post office area are pretty deteriorated. We talked about this a few months ago. And then that Valley Can, adjacent to going across Clinton Street, adjacent to Space Create, seems to be getting worse with the settling. So the full scope is to repair all of what I was just describing. And that's not something we budgeted for. We did get quotes from contractors for our procurement policy. And the one we're recommending is Coulter Construction in the amount of $38,316, which again, the procurement, you all know this by now, but our procurement manual states that contracts for the purchase of supplies, goods, equipment, and services in excess of $25,000 being that threshold requires approval by you all. And we do believe the general fund can accommodate this work. And been told the early to mid part of August is when we can get this work undertaken, which would be after the concert series. So provided you are comfortable with this, staff would request authorization for entering into a contractor services agreement for the work.
Okay.
Would it be the whole, half circle of the sidewalk?
It would be a large majority of that, if not all of it.
But probably not the front steps of the post office?
Correct.
One other thought was, will they be putting in the receivers for signs that will probably go there in the future? Like no idling? Or, it's easier to put those in when you're doing the concrete than to try to go back and have to drill it.
Yeah, that's not part of this scope of work, but
It might be something to consider.
it's not too hard to install signs after the fact, but something we could look at.
Is there a possibility for a ramp?
Yes.
That would connect with the sidewalk coming down to Town Hall?
Oh,
Instead of theirs
from
or
the, yes, there's certainly, because
There's
that's
a
been,
lot of bike traffic that way. It'd be very nice to.
stroller traffic
Yes, so my kids are
and
little.
ADA compliance and,
Yeah.
all the things.
yeah, we can have some.
Pretty soon.
Good luck. Well, I moved to authorize. Sorry, I did it in my one. Sorry. I moved to authorize staff to enter into a contractor services agreement with Coulter Construction, the post office sidewalk repairs, and Clinton Street Valley Pan repairs at an amount not to exceed $38,316.
That's very close.
That was pretty good.
Doesn't matter. It got seconded.
Motion made by Josie, seconded by Ollie. Roll call vote.
Counselors Grambling,
Aye.
Greenwood.
Aye.
Kroger. Aye. Montague. Aye. Scoville.
Aye.
And Mayor Pro Tem Lakin.
Hi.
Passes unanimously, thank you. That takes us to the fire. Fire restrictions.
Yeah, we entered into fire restrictions yesterday, in line with what the county and other jurisdictions are doing, so good for you all to either ratify or amend that if you see fit.
I move to ratify the fire restrictions.
Second.
I saw someone at the.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
There was a
Josie.
motion, did you send? Okay, sorry, I didn't hear it say. Go ahead.
I saw someone at the school burning yesterday, burning weeds, and I was kind of like, I am so very sorry, my good sir. No.
How did they take it?
They were like, this is my job, and I was like, hey, this is our town, we don't want to burn it down,
It's
and
not big.
he was like, okay, and I was like, I'm not gonna call the police, but like, we
need to start.
stop.
Yeah. Yeah, so Trish, for your information, this is usually the way we usually follow on the heels of what the county does when it comes to fire restrictions. Usually, it often happens between meetings, and so Preston goes in and makes the press release and we wrap it. Great, that's what. So a motion is made and seconded. All in favor, roll call for.
Counselors Grambling.
Aye.
Greenwood.
Aye.
Kroger.
Aye.
Montague.
Aye.
Scoville.
Aye.
And Mayor Pro Tem Lakin.
Aye.
Great, passes unanimously now. You had something you wanted to bring up?
I do. My thing was, what's the appetite for putting diaper changing stations in both genders
I guess thumbs up.
restrooms? And also maybe at the athletic park. Because changing babies on floors is.
Great.
Bunch of nodding heads, we can.
Done. Thank you.
Hereby direct staff to look into that, thank you.
Thank you.
And then, discussion of Trish's email about compensation.
Yeah.
You wanna introduce it or? start off?
No, I think I would let Trish introduce it since she wrote the letter,
Okay, Trish,
if you want to do that.
before you got here, Michelle said, are we gonna address your email? And I said that I didn't know, but we're happy to have you talk about it. We're gonna
So you're on me.
come on up and.
Okay. Tricia Savage again, back. I really have over my attempted run for the SMPA district representative. And also a lot of discussion around the efficiency, housing, et cetera. I had the wonderful opportunity to interact with a number of you individually, which I really appreciated. And then also involved with the park discussion and the pickleball. So all the park stuff, and Polly's meeting for that. And then SAB for a number of different things, the zero waste, all the activities that SAB is doing and being involved with that subcommittee. And then hearing tonight, again, a proposal, maybe there needs to be another subcommittee about tourism and businesses, in addition to Fuse that's already there and all the other things. This amazing town council takes on things for this small town in our apparently just considerable tourism, takes on things for a town significantly bigger. I think you all agree with that. When I went and looked, and I really honestly don't know what spurred me to look into this. But when I went and looked at what their compensation is compared to other towns of similar size, and then when I started to peek at that, okay, you are at the bottom of that in just your regular comp. And somebody had said, a couple of people said, oh yeah, we just gave ourselves a raise, minimal, nominal, and I have to say I don't know about the history of that. It was good that you gave yourself some sort of raise, but I don't have a history of the amounts or any of that. I also don't know if you'd already had the conversation about benefits. So the reason I wrote, anyone else who's still here, I wrote an email into the council to say that other towns that have similar, that are of similar size and also have similar plans, like so the master plan, maybe not exactly the climate action plan, regional climate action plan, but definitely the mountain towns with those kind of more forward thinking. A lot of them, and then also towns like Parachute and really small other towns, a lot of them are allowing access to benefits through the town. And meaning they're considered employees of the town, so therefore they can have access to those benefits. And then in those different towns, there's as many different ways to implement that as there are towns. But the reason I was suggesting it is when you all were going through the last election, I heard again and again, what is this town? What is this town to you? And I heard that question asked by the URA women, what is town to you? And they said, ranchers, small business owners, artists, and a lot of those folks. And then like small business owners, and then they didn't mention, right, a lot of remote workers, retired folks, etc. But a lot of the people that make up Ridgway don't necessarily have access to benefits. So, and all those cool jobs, right? Artists don't, small businesses don't, ranchers don't, right? If anybody does have, they're having it through their spouse and whatever their spouse's job is, but a lot of those folks don't have it. So the thought was just to raise it to you all. And I feel like as a random resident, I don't really have a way to champion this or push this. So I don't have to raise it to you all. I feel like the level of volunteer time and investment that you all make is huge. And with all these committees, Preston also, so there's you all, and then there's Preston going above and beyond in every single one of those meetings. And I feel like benefits are just an easy way, and I'm saying access to benefits. And what if we just allowed access to benefits? I'm not even saying paying for them, right? That could be like another discussion as you're going into next year, right? And I know it's still work, but like the easier part of what if we took that baby step towards allowing benefits through, and then that is something that can add a lot of value to you all and future folks who want to step forward. And does that maybe, so I feel like that's something that could add a lot of value to people who potentially want to consider being in your roles without without even having a lot of budget impact. So that could be a start. And then you could have a further conversation of, does Preston need to clone himself into two? Because the amount of time, like, right, somebody that's taking care of all these initiatives, right? All these strategies that you're trying to do, like figuring out if that goes through council, there's a lot of discussions. And I said, and there's a lot of ways to implement how much does the stipend that counselors are paid, and do they opt in or do they not? There's a lot of research to do there. So I wanted to propose it to you all. I made the mistake of including the information for how much the benefits cost. But I think the first baby step could be just allowing access and doing the research on just allowing access to that. So, and what I came around to after conversations and follow-on conversations was try to back down to that as like a first step. And then I appreciate that for me, it's like, whatever, putting sand, rocks uphill. So if you all think that's worth discussing, hopefully finding somebody on council that has the energy to champion it. And I am happy to, for free, we pay a lot of consultants, by the way, but for free, help with like the research, et cetera, into other towns, into possibilities, into whatever I'm happy to help support.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tricia.
So my first thought on this was about the health insurance aspect, and I thought, well, people that have health insurance are already covered, so they're not going to just. And then those of us who don't have made that choice for many reasons and have accepted that. So maybe we don't need this. And then when I thought about it some more, that Trisha came forward with this, and it doesn't benefit her. I was like, well, what would it hurt to actually look into it? And so that was it was almost a pre-step. Like, what would it entail? Was why I wanted this brought back up, because I thought that she put the effort into proposing this, and then I don't know that it's going to go anywhere, but information, I'm not going to say it's free. It's not free. It's sometimes very hard to find these days, but to request staff to look into what this could entail was all I was thinking about on this.
I like the idea of just seeing if there's an option to enroll through the town plan. I mean, I have no idea how that works on the insurance contract side, but I've worked here 22 years and worked 2 or 3 jobs the entire time, and I've never, not once had an employer that provided health insurance, even when I ran the medical center. And so I think it's more common than you would think to work in this town and not have access to any sort of employer-sponsored plan. And so, my husband and I, our entire adult working lives, whether we work for other people or for ourselves, whatever, we've never had employer-sponsored health insurance access ever. So I think it's a neat idea to look into, even if it's not something the town puts the bill on, if there's an option to open enroll into the program. I think
I'd be curious to see how other small towns can leverage that. I think it's an interesting idea, especially as we, want to attract youth and more towns, things like that. So I've never thought of that before, so I think it's true.
As we promote creatives and small business owners and people who kind of live a little differently, that's kind of attractive. One of the most valuable assets that we've all learned being up here on council is kind of longevity and knowing history. And every year, kind of becoming more valuable because of what we know and what experience has gone through. And so to be able to look to the future and look forward and hopes of somebody wanting to fill those roles, and I'm all for the conversation.
And to be clear, the discussion is asking staff into allowing a council member to pay their own premiums through town, not town paying for this.
Yeah. Or just seeing what the numbers are.
Seeing what the cost would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And as a creative and small business owner, it would be sick to have access to not just open market, whatever. Healthcare.
Well, and part of the problem with the open market, and I'll keep this brief, is
sorry,
you're trapped into a now I'm at a loss for the word. You can't make above a certain amount of money. You're trapped in a whatever it's called cycle. What's that?
I said vicious circle. I think that's true.
It's the benefits cliff. It happens with
Yeah,
the benefits of that.
and it's gotten worse in the past year. If you make $1 over that limit, which I believe is 6,225, you pay back the entire subsidy. Poverty, thank you. Poverty cycle.
Yes.
It's the thing, it's part of the thing that we face with the community housing thing, so we don't need to go down that road, but you're limiting people as to how much they can make, or they lose a lot of benefits. Anyway, I'm done.
Okay.
So if there's a bunch of nodding heads, to relook into the compensation piece, but specifically the, benefit health, insurance enrollment stuff, we could do that. We did that a little bit, last go around.
I was looking for that. I couldn't find it.
Well, we presented some, very minimal information about, what some of those comparator communities provide beyond just stipend and compensation.
Right.
Some offer, stuff beyond, like in the realm of what we're talking about, some don't, right? But we can absolutely come back in a few months and present that information and in time for budget season and such. We can work with Deb and Pam and Lee on trying to get all that information together.
Yeah, because maybe even if it's just nothing to do with budget, it's just opening up the open enrollment to town council, you know, I mean,
Right,
not.
But we want to do it comprehensively.
Yeah,
I mean, we can
yeah.
look at, potentially town covering a portion of the premium kind of thing. I would
So
say
the
that
options, so the options are,
right.
yeah. Okay.
So,
And to be clear, we'll take some time.
Oh, yeah.
no, we're not doing. I'm not gonna do
Well, it's next
this
week, month's been next
Well, it's
week.
next month, yeah.
Yeah.
Busy time of year, so yeah.
Just
What's the water project?
briefly, Mayor, I do want to reiterate, you guys are employees of the town, so.
And I know that some, I don't know if this would apply, but some say a limited, you have to work a certain number of hours, qualify, so I don't know what you're limited to.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Tricia.
Thank you all for all that you do. It was pretty impressive.
It's fun.
It's fun. And I'm all about finding value, like the maximizing your value for the minimum amount of money. And I felt like this is one of those opportunities.
Thank you.
Okay, so thanks. So I believe that takes us to written reports, town manager's report. Questions, things you want to highlight on there?
Yeah, the youth council's first movie Monday is this coming Monday.
Bye.
And, they're screening Ferris Bueller's Day Off, so if you don't have anything to do, come out for that. We're gonna have them do a little introduction before the movie starts, so. And then the concert series next month. Gonna be fantastic. The ductile iron pipe replacement project has been completed. Ridgway Valley still mobilizing. A reminder that that's being paid for through a direct loan from the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority and a grant from DOLA's Energy Mineral Impact Assistance. So it's great to be at the tail end of that. Some personnel updates, as you all already know, Pam is retiring in December, which is a big deal. We do encourage you all, and have already, to in your own ways thank her for her dedication and long-time service to the community, and we'll find ways to celebrate her as we get closer to that date. And the Finance and Administrative Services Director job opening is being advertised currently. Julie Thune, Administrative Assistant, is moving on from us. So if you see her when you're out and about or you come into town hall, please thank her and wish her all the best. I believe she's moving back to Denver, right? Yeah. Lori Patton, Utility Billing Clerk or Customer Service Clerk, has been promoted to Administrative Assistant. So now we are looking to hire for a new Customer Service Clerk. So super well deserved on Lori's part. We're excited to see that grow. Our Way, a lot of transition with Our Way recently, but they've made some really good updates to their schedule, expanded hours. Gary at All Points Transit has been pretty accommodating with a lot of the meetings recently to make sure that we're getting our money's worth. We got MMOF grant and really expanding the service and hitting the need. So more information is at All Points Transit's website, so you can see the schedule, drop off and pickup locations, stuff like that. Express Bill Pay is now online. So folks, and it's a lot. Deb, you want to talk about Express Bill Pay?
You can auto pay your water bill. You can auto pay your water bill. There's really so many ways that you can pay your water bill. If you are away, you can make a phone call.
Can I
May
still
not-
write checks?
You can still write checks. Yeah.
You might be the only one who wants to do that.
Yeah.
And we are working on some other options where people can come and pay, their bid inspections, building permits can all be done. It's not quite set up yet. We're still trying to make sure we're comfortable with utility billing right before we move into other ways of paying. I think services that we provide for the town. So.
I heard that you worked on that extensively, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it was a long time needed, so it's all good. Yeah. And any feedback that you guys have on it, if any of you are using it, greatly appreciate that.
Like, I wish there wasn't an ACH fee. I totally get having a credit card fee, I mean, obviously, to cover that expense, but I wish there was a way to do an ACH transfer without having to pay a fee.
Yeah.
That
Well,
stood out to me too.
yeah, and I don't know if this is appropriate time to say this, but we do have options to modify this. But that's something we have to look at.
I mean, I feel like every other bill online with ACH transfer for enough.
Yeah.
That's definitely like a hold on to me. Totally support credit card fees. I mean, that makes total sense,
I agree.
But I wish there was an
We could get
ACH.
rid of this. Nothing.
I would set it up on auto pay easy with ACH.
But if you do so, even if you're not using the auto pay or you still want to write a check, I really highly recommend that you sign up for Express Bill Pay because you can get your history, you can look at your bill, know exactly how much water you use. And you know, we've started collecting all that data. We uploaded everything for this year, so we've got 5 months of history now. So if you go in and just sign up just to have that, you can do paperless billing, you can have that access to see what's happening with your account.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And sorry to throw another question, but is it possible in time to upload previous year's data? Or are we just going?
Yeah, and we have chosen to, as a starting point, to just because we are not set up with an accounting system that will support cash receipting and all these other modules that Express Bill Pay has a way of doing all of that where we could have years of stuff uploaded, but we're only a standalone system right now. Hopefully, sometime in the future we can start incorporating more of an accounting system that will allow us to really utilize all the benefits that Express Bill Pay has, because there's a lot of things that we could do that we can't do right now. But I mean, it's a start, so I think we're on the right track for that.
It's not showing you your usage during the month. That's a different thing that maybe in our future.
That has to do with our meters, and we've talked about that a bunch, and we don't have.
I'm actually buying an in-home clamp-on water meter that will.
I have one on my outside water spigot because I can estimate how much I'm using in the house, but for outside water, it was pretty inexpensive and it works well.
Yeah, I think that's the.
Oh, you're talking about looking at it ongoing?
Yeah, real time.
I don't know if that's something.
I think
if it was all connected. Maybe.
What I've heard is that our meters are capable of doing that, but the cost to get that to customers was a lot.
It's a cost you all need to consider during budget, including a tower so that we can remote read everything or push one button, we change everything out and hopefully a couple weeks. We only have like 10 meters.
So, yay, thank you for that huge project, by the way.
The meter replacement. Oh yeah, Randy's been doing this since 2020.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Randy.
Yeah, not just Randy, but everybody. Happy to answer any questions. We'll leave it at that.
I have something. This is Leah's last meeting and they're having an ice cream social in Town Park a week from today before the planning meeting to say goodbye. So thank you for covering our meeting.
Well, I was looking and I realized you guys planned a special one for Tuesday, so I actually will be there.
Oh, it's not the last one.
Not the last one.
After the ice cream social, you're coming back to work?
No, our ice cream social's next day, so I won't really like.
You'll be done.
We can remind everyone again.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for all the great work you've done, Mike.
Thank
You. Thanks for being nice to us.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair,
You are.
all the recordings on.
Anything else?
I have something little.
Yeah.
I brought this to the last two meetings and I forgot my little show and tell today, but going back to the state sustainability committee and the efforts for the concerts to make things,
Zero waste.
and whatnot, yeah. I mean, one year I got this gift, it was a little cloth sack and then it was a wooden fork spoon and knife, and I just always have it in my bag or in my car.
I have one.
Okay, and I was just thinking about you and your little videos we do that on your Monday, and how maybe that could be an effort that we tell people when they go to the concert to bring your own and refuse whatever it is they're giving us, whether it's plastic or bamboo or whatever, but just to bypass it.
Well, maybe they're even available for purchase at the concert. I don't know how that will work.
Yeah.
Eventually we could go off something like that.
Yeah, eventually.
Okay, good idea.
That's the refuse part of the birthday that's kind of disappeared over the years.
Yep.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you for that. You have something?
I do. It's sorry, my brain is all done with everything.
Nice joke.
Board thing. It was really stupid and I loved it.
It's a 2-year-old, right?
Girl, you know who I work with.
Start.
This is about the, thank you. The parks. Bo is rolling his eyes at me.
No, this is blank, this is a blank canvas, I am attentively listening.
Parks, Trails, and Open Spaces. There've been a couple of parks meetings since I last gave an update. Preston and I have been kind of working on getting all of the user groups to the table. It's an exciting moment for this project. The things that have come up a lot is how are we going to get money and how much money are we going to ask the user groups to then put forth? And that was something that please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that was something that Preston and I kind of were like, hey, we need to talk about this with council to get like an actual dollar amount. Because I don't know, or even a pie chart of what we expect user groups to put forth. And they would like a timeline and an amount of money. We have kind of put on user groups, specifically pickleball and baseball, because those were the only two groups who came to the meeting on Monday. We were kind of like, hey, why don't you guys get together, come up with some plans, come up with some ideas, kind of come together as a single entity to get this kind of rolling. And also there was a question about maybe next year's concert series alcohol sales going towards raising funds for the athletic park. We have some interesting ideas, and we're definitely gonna have to, just so everybody knows, I know it's June. I know we don't want to talk about budget season quite yet, but we're going into budget season in the fall. The athletic park is gonna be pretty set in stone. People are gonna really want to know about that. Go team go.
That's good. Yeah.
Good.
Anything else? The order. Not, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
All right. All right.
Thanks, Beth.
Bye.
See you, Beth.
Bye, Beth.